a young man emerges from a coffin. This is Li Mu Xian, the Immortal King. After a battle against 1,000,000 demonic beings, he was forced into secluded recovery within the coffin. When Li Mu Xian finally awakens, he finds himself in a modern, technologically advanced society. Cultivators are now few and far between. Sensing something amiss, Li Mu Xian performs a divination. He discovers that the heavenly Tao is under siege. A cataclysm is about to befall the mortal realm. Suddenly, the wind howls fiercely. Thunder and lightning crackle in the sky. A bolt of lightning strikes where Li Mu Xian stands. But that's not all. From the heavens above, a gigantic eye appears. It proclaims itself to be the heavenly Tao, and then it declares, Li Mu Xian shouldn't even exist in this world. But this daddy's never been afraid of anyone. Back in the day, I single-handedly took on a whole horde of demonic monsters. So some empty threats from the heavenly Tao don't mean squat. Li Mu Xian just had to shout, and it ran off with its tail between its legs. Still, I can't let my guard down. Something feels off about this world. The heavenly Tao seems to be covered by something. Humanity has completely forgotten the path of cultivation, and it feels like someone's pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Humanity might be imprisoned somehow. If Li Mu Xian wanted to return to his peak, it would be easy. He'd just have to sever the connection between the continent's core in the pocket dimension and Earth, even if it meant all of Earth's spiritual energy would dissipate. But then, and unleash his own small world. He could even refine the heart of the continent and solidify his small world's foundation, or perhaps ascend to the rank of a mortal emperor. Then, neither heavenly Tao nor the outer realm demons will be a match for Li Mu Xian. But that's a big if. Earth's meager spiritual energy has no vessel to contain it. It would explode, obliterating all life. Earth would be reduced to nothing. The thought of the internet, mobile games, all of modern human civilization, vanishing made Li Mu Xian feel a pang of regret. He carried the Xianyin continent on his back, defeating the outer realm demons. Now, just after waking up, he had to save Earth. Being an immortal king was exhausting. Fortunately, there was another option. For Li Mu Xian to return to his peak, he needs to cultivate his destined cultivation technique. He began with the Xian Tian Qi refining art, a technique renowned for rapid spiritual energy absorption. It also stabilizes the foundation of his cultivation attributes. But now, due to the continental core's influence, Earth's spiritual energy and the pocket dimension's energy have merged into one. Their attributes are now compatible, ideally if on Earth more cultivators practiced Li Mu Xian's destined technique, they could potentially help him share the burden of his primordial qi. This way, perhaps, his cultivation could be restored faster than normal. To be certain, he consulted the top-grade Tian Yin mirror, and the results were quite promising. 100 cultivators practicing the Xian Tian Qi refining art at the Qi refining stage could help restore his Qi refining stage. The Qi of 100 cultivators practicing the profound heaven refining Qi technique, reaching the golden core stage, can help restore the core stage. Just multiply that process. However, the higher the realm, the harder it becomes. To restore Dangxian stage cultivation requires 100 Dangxian stage cultivators. Even during the Xian Rock continent's golden age, that would be a tall order, let alone on Earth, devoid of any cultivators. Everything must start from scratch. But then again, fighting those outer realm demons was far more difficult. And yet, I overcame that. This challenge is nothing in comparison. This is a minor setback. The road ahead is long. First, find 100 people to cultivate Qi. Then, we'll figure out the next step. As a seasoned veteran, with millennia of experience, Li Mu Xian understood a fundamental truth. No matter the era, the youth possess the greatest capacity for learning and growth. Their potential is limitless. To change the world, he must first inspire the next generation. And that time is now. He and Fan and Guang Xiao finally caught up to him. They had reached Li Mu Xian's location. Immortal Master, please wait. Hearing the call, he was taken aback. He hadn't expected anyone to recognize him in this era. Moments later, he and Fan presented a portrait and explained, "Our Immortal Master's mansion has protected Mount Wuhu for generations, awaiting your awakening. Just moments ago, the Master and disciple. We saw unusual signs in the sky and rushed over. We never expected to actually find the Immortal Master here." As he spoke, he and Fan showed Li Mu Xian the portrait After confirming it was him in the picture, Li Muxuan noticed traces left behind by fairy Luohua to preserve the portrait for eternity. She had refined her own small world into the painting. Centuries have passed, changing the world. Li Muxuan surmised that his old comrades like Bai Dong and Luohua were likely gone. Otherwise, humanity wouldn't be in this state. Unsure where to begin or how to proceed, Lao He and his disciple enthusiastically offered their services. Immortal Master, we have worshipped you for generations, and now we finally see you in the flesh. Please allow us to follow you. Although their spiritual roots are weak, their potential is limited with no hope of cultivating elixirs in this lifetime. But given the current shortage of manpower, Li Muxian had to make do. Seeing He Yunfan's seemingly immortal demeanor, he decided to have the old man help spread the cultivation technique. Afterwards, he gave them a copy of the Xiantian refining qi. He instructed them that after cultivating it, they must spread this technique far and wide. Let everyone know about it. He would personally come to inspect their progress. Only then would he decide whether to teach them the next stage. Upon receiving the manual, He Yunfan and his disciple Guang Hui immediately bowed in gratitude and invited him to stay at the Immortal Master's residence. However, Li Muxian declined the offer. Instead, he asked for a ride to Lujing University. Hearing this, Guang Xiao immediately suggested he just fly there. The mountain roads are treacherous and winding. Exasperated by his disciple's simple-mindedness, He Yunfan smacked him upside the head. You dumb ox. The Immortal Master is a transcendent being. He doesn't need your pedestrian solutions. He wishes to experience the mortal world. Go back and bring the Immortal Master's car around. Little did they know, Li Muxian's cultivation had been crippled. He couldn't fly even if he wanted to. Plus, he had a terrible sense of direction and no clue where Lujing University was. Soon after, He Yunfan and his disciple escorted Li Muxuan downtown. Seeing his fascination with the bustling city, the crowded streets, He Yunfan suggested a more modern outfit. It would help him blend in. At the same time, he would buy him some school supplies. This way, he could fully experience school life, a complete immersion. Fresh off the boat, Li Muxuan was overwhelmed. He let them take the lead. They soon arrived at Lujing University. By now, our Mr. Mu had traded his traditional robes for a trendy outfit. Before officially enrolling, He Yunfan gave him some essentials, like a phone, a laptop, a tablet, and gave extremely detailed instructions. He even offered to enroll in the university with him to better assist him. Although the old man meant well, Li Muxian politely declined. The old man's distinguished yet ancient face would only attract unwanted attention. So, he immediately refused the offer. You can see me off here. I'll be going now. If Master needs anything, call this number. My disciple and I will come immediately. Also, your phone is linked to my bank account. There's quite a bit of money in it. Feel free to spend it. This level of ancestor-like service was beyond thoughtful. Li Muxian decided to entrust the painting to them. They added that it was actually a magical tool, and he had helped activate its seal. If they encountered danger, they should infuse their spiritual energy into the painting. It could protect them. Afterwards, Lao He and Guang Xian thanked Li Muxuan for his generosity and quickly took their leave. However, in the car, Guang Xian still had some doubts. He worried Li Muxuan might be a con artist, so he boldly questioned his master. Master, think about it. Since we met him, that immortal hasn't shown us any of his abilities, not even once. Yet you gave him all of our life savings. All of it. Isn't that a bit reckless? Guang Xian was clearly naive, so Lao He had to explain things to him. When you reach my age, you'll understand the Grand Master's terrifying power. His every move. Que tan profundo universal through this punto. Don't even mention these worldly possessions. If he asked for the entire Immortals, I'd offer it with both hands. Meanwhile, Li Muxian arrives at the school gates. He heads to registration, using Ling Feng's acceptance letter. However, Zhang Nai, the orientation guide, and Li Gaoliang, a senior student, quickly notice something amiss. Student, do you have the wrong documents? The picture doesn't look like you at all. Immediately, he uses his words manifest reality skill. After all, Li Muxian's core resides within him. He is now the master of his own destiny. His will is the will of Earth, and all his words carry the weight of Earth's will. It's incredibly difficult for ordinary people to resist. Therefore, the orientation guide and everyone else quickly succumbed to his influence. They completed Li Muxian's enrollment procedures. As for Senior Li Gaoyang, he was tasked with escorting Li Muxian to the dormitory. For the initial report, Li Gaoyang asked him if he had any luggage, but when he found out that he only had a bag of school supplies, he seemed quite surprised and started rambling. Money sure makes things easy, huh? Just starting school and buying all your clothes and shoes new at school. What's that like? Not like us regular working class folks, whose families have to tighten their belts for months just to pay tuition. Actually, Li Muxian wasn't really listening to him ramble. He was too preoccupied observing the campus. He only snapped back to attention when he passed a certain girl. It turned out she possessed the Yuling root, just like someone he used to know. He noticed Li Muxian was staring intently at the campus beauty, Han Jiqing. Li Gaoyang assumed he was captivated by her beauty, so he offered a word of warning. I admit, student, you're very handsome, but if you're thinking of pursuing Senior Jiqing, I suggest you abandon that idea right now. Because Senior Han Jiqing isn't just the beauty of Lujing University. She's also the only daughter of the richest man in Lujing City. Her suitors could circle this school several times over. So that's it. That's supposed to impress me. Li Muxian thought, unimpressed, seeing that he hadn't truly captivated the beauty's attention. Li Gaoyang continued, recounting another tale. The basketball prince, Wang Tianhao, Tupushan Sikning, willingly gave up an invitation to join a world-renowned club, just to come to our Lujing University. Despite the fantastical stories, Li Muxian was fixated on only one detail: Han Jiqing's uncanny resemblance to Ling Shi, a senior disciple from Xian Tianzong. Not just in appearance, but both possessed the Yuling Gen, a celestial spiritual root. Even in a world of millennia-old cultivation, it was a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, exceptionally rare and elusive. This extraordinary coincidence, Li Muxian was starting to suspect that reincarnation might actually exist in this world, but whether it did or not wasn't as important as recovering his cultivation level. So, he put the matter aside for now. He needed to figure out how to cultivate 100 disciples with uniform strength. He'd spread his cultivation techniques through Shui Yunfan and his students to disseminate his cultivation method. But that was only effective for lower realms. It addressed the immediate need, but once they reached higher realms, ordinary talent wouldn't be enough. Only those with extraordinary aptitude could progress. He needed to find true prodigies, take them as disciples, and nurture their potential. Only then could his own cultivation truly advance. And Han Jiqing, his beloved, fit all of Li Muxian's requirements perfectly. Meanwhile, Han Jiqing seemed to sense his gaze upon her, so she should go back. But she brushes it off, not dwelling on it. Following Gao Liang's guidance, Li Muxian quickly arrives at his dorm room. Because he registered late, he now has to share a room with 3 other guys. The first is Luo Yang, a physical education major with a chiseled six-pack. The second is Lu Hongquan, a total bookworm, majoring in Chinese literature. And lastly, Zhang Zihao, a hardcore weeaboo glued to his computer. Once everyone's present, including Li Muxian, Luo Yang volunteers to be the dorm head because nobody else seems to care. So he took their silence as agreement. And just like that, the 4 friends began their college life. Time flew by. Before they knew it, 2 months had passed since Li Muxian started school, and from his studies, he gained a rudimentary understanding of this world. It was a world dominated by science and technology. Yet, various religions still existed, and each religion had its own unique set of doctrines. Humans couldn't escape the cycle of life and death. They couldn't defy the natural order or change their fate. Acceptance was the only path. However, history recorded many individuals who achieved enlightenment, figures that made Li Muxian see the world in a new light. Like the legendary monk who rode an ox. Despite possessing no spiritual power, he understood the profound workings of a universe, not inferior to even the most seasoned cultivators. This young man possesses the insight of a scholar. Earth is quite advanced and pleasing to the eye, surpassing one's limitations and unlocking unlimited potential. His perspective mirrors our own cultivation philosophy. In our era, Every cultivator was a rebellious spirit. We defied fate, striving for self-transcendence. A pity the heavenly Tao obscured their brilliance. Otherwise, the world would have two more immortal kings. Meanwhile, Han Jiqing and his roommate, Zhang Jiuling, were studying in the university library. However, Han Jiqing's striking presence attracted attention. Around them, admirers lurked like satellites, perhaps tired of the constant attention. So Zhang Jiuling suggested they go shopping for some new clothes, instead of sitting there being ogled by drooling men. But her senior wasn't listening, completely fixated on something in the distance. Jiuling had to give her a little nudge to snap her out of it. Turns out, the person Han Jiqing was staring at was none other than Li Muqin. However, to everyone else, he looked like nothing more than a bookworm. This made young Zhang Jiuling question her senior's taste in men. I'll admit, that junior is handsome and even a little intriguing, but he's always got his nose in a book. A total bookworm. Nowhere near as cool as my brother, Zhang Hao. Despite Jiuling's constant chatter, Han Jiqing wasn't listening. Instead, she decided to approach Li Muqin. She hadn't taken more than a few steps when she suddenly lost her balance and nearly fell. Luckily, Li Muxian reacted quickly and caught her. Seizing the opportunity, Li Muxian shika fan zikin spusha. The surrounding onlookers were practically fuming with jealousy. Damn, that lucky bastard. Why couldn't the goddess have fallen near me? Meanwhile, Li Muxian remained focused, checking her pulse. Han Jiqing's spiritual energy was liquefying. Her pulse was erratic. I almost forgot about this after all this time. The lunar spirit root is a gift from heaven and earth. It passively absorbs spiritual energy and converts it into spiritual liquid. Without a specific cultivation technique, a mortal body can't contain too much spiritual liquid. At this rate, it won't be long before her body will be completely consumed by the spirit ichor. To ease Han Jiqing's pain, Li Muxian drew out some of the spiritual energy from her meridians. Just then, Zhang Jiuling saw their hands touching, their intimacy clear, and immediately jumped in to interrupt. However, neither Han Jiqing nor Li Muxian cared, leaving her utterly petrified and embarrassed. Of course, she wasn't the only one. Plenty of young men were incredibly jealous and envious of Li Muxian, but instead of paying attention to them, our charming protagonist was more concerned about Han Jiqing's condition. While checking her pulse, he discovered that she showed no signs of cultivation. Without someone to dispel the spirit ichor, she shouldn't have survived past childhood, let alone growing up healthy and strong like he is now. Back in his dorm room, Li Muxian received some unexpected good news. He and Fan and Guang Xiao had successfully cultivated to the early stage of qi refinement. They can now walk on water and ride clouds. The two of them wanted to share this news with him and transmit the cultivation technique through a live stream. Soon after, he and Fan's live stream began. To watch discreetly, Li Muxian created a new account with a nickname, Half-Life Wanderer, a very leisurely name. As expected, the moment he and Fan was shown standing on water, the internet completely exploded. The live viewer count skyrocketed. 210,000 viewers in just a few minutes. Of course, many were still skeptical, accusing them of using Photoshop. To prove the reality of cultivation, Lao He sent his disciple on a mission to climb up the cliff face without any tools or assistance. Witnessing this incredible feat, almost everyone was convinced, completely and utterly. A true master knows how to seize the moment. With public trust at an all-time high, he and Fan quickly posted a link to cultivation techniques. Despite the live stream's success, in reality, some remained doubtful, questioning the video's authenticity. Some keyboard warrior, going by the handle Tran Nambak, accused them of running a scam, said they were just trying to sell books. Watch for half a day, turns out it's just a book ad. If you're so powerful, why not join the Olympics? It's the 21st century, and people still believe in ghosts and gods. Kid, you probably haven't even finished middle school. Reading this comment made my blood boil. Couldn't resist replying to this guy. You have no proof, yet you dare call it fake? Is it real or fake? Go to Woohoo Mountain and you'll find out. However, Sukana thought that this Tran Nam Bak was just a typical keyboard warrior, never caring about right or wrong. In fact, he even challenged Li Muxian to find out his real identity. Two can play at this game. Digging up someone's info, child's play. I can do that in a snap. This kid's definitely here on business. Li Muxuan's gonna freeze him out for sure. Meanwhile, Shui Yunfan and his master's crazy cultivation livestream is trending like wildfire. It's caught everyone's attention. So, they're seizing the moment to keep broadcasting, proving their skills, by challenging a Muay Thai champion. An old man, practically unarmed, 1 foot in the grave, is provoking a seasoned fighter. It's a cringe-worthy sight. Most people are certain the old guy won't last 3 seconds. But against all odds, the old man swiftly takes down the fighter with effortless grace. He executes a half-step collapse fist, leaving everyone completely stunned and speechless. Just like last time, Ian Fan reminds his viewers to click the link below for the cultivation technique. My humble presentation hardly scratches the surface of profound Chinese martial arts. If you wish to learn, click the link on our channel. You'll find the complete Xiantian Lianqi technique. This time, the offer seems less like a scam, thanks to positive user reviews. Many have left encouraging comments. Meanwhile, Zhang Zihao has just finished watching the live stream and downloaded the technique. Just before the stream gets flagged for copyright infringement, he quickly shares the news with his roommates. Guys, get over here. I've got something to share. You guys are so behind the times. What's so new about that? New? It's a complete chaotic mess. Anything groundbreaking there? Have you seen the video from those two from Wuhu Mountain? Their live stream just got shut down. Hearing this, the bookish young man wasn't surprised. After all, those two, Lao He and his disciple, were known for their eccentric antics. Getting banned was par for the course. But Zhang Zihao immediately countered. After the ban, he searched online for their videos. He discovered that all traces of them had been completely wiped out, completely scrubbed. Not a single thing left. He suspected that this was more than just an online ban. Hearing the severity of the situation, the bookish young man, Liu Hongchuan, urged his friend to continue the story. It turned out, Zhang Zihao had exploited a vulnerability in the server. He hacked into the streaming platform's server and downloaded some videos that hadn't been completely deleted. Then, he used editing software to review them. After watching, Zhang Zihao was completely dumbfounded because old he and his disciple hadn't faked any of the footage. It was all real. Even Liu Hongchuan couldn't process this unbelievable truth. He had to ask, if they didn't fake it, are they actually superhuman? Do they have superpowers? That's impossible. Oh yeah, I downloaded the Xiantian Lianqi cultivation technique. Those two guys downstairs were just talking about it. Maybe that's why their live stream got banned. You guys want to see it? Nah, I don't have time for that. Meanwhile, Li Muyun was listening to his roommates gossiping when he got a message from Lao He. The platform finally explained why they were banned. Apparently, they got a bunch of complaints. Now that that's settled, Li Muyun wasn't in a rush. Instead, he told the master and disciple to take their time with the plan. After all, the live streaming method was yielding pretty good results. 87 cultivators were practicing the technique now. In reality, humans have always had one ultimate dream: immortality, eternal life. Even though scientists have discovered DNA and humanity has accepted the cycle of life and death, some people still can't resist the allure of immortality. Because of this, Li Muxuan's cultivation technique spread like wildfire. A short while later, Liu Hongchuan received an unexpected call from his teacher. His roommate, Luo Yang, had been injured while playing basketball. He was currently in surgery. They were needed at the hospital. Upon hearing the news, the three of them rushed to the hospital. The surgery had just finished. According to the doctor, it was a success. Luo Yang was out of danger. However, due to the injury, his lower body was quite weak, and he needs time to process this. He's facing a long recovery. Sukana is at Luo Yang's bedside. Luo Yang is a sports major. A serious injury like this could shatter his career. After hearing the devastating news from the doctor, the three friends can only offer comfort. Stay strong. Surprisingly, Luo Yang isn't as despondent as they expected. Li Muxian feels sympathy for Luo Yang's misfortune. He saw potential in the young man. They spent time together, and he found Luo Yang to be a good kid, a promising talent. But during his visit, Li Muxian notices something strange: an acupuncture needle protruding from Luo Yang's spine. To avoid causing a commotion, he discreetly used a celestial technique to remove the acupuncture needle. Amazingly, moments later, the young man regained feeling. Guys, I think I can move. I can feel my legs. Everyone present was astonished by this medical miracle. Even the specialists were stunned. Luo Yang's case was unprecedented, except for Li Muxian, who knew the truth. The needle lodged in Luo Yang's spine was a Ming needle, a mystical tool crafted only by cultivators at the foundation establishment stage, using spiritual energy. It was also a Yin implement, highly toxic to low-level cultivators and mortals, especially those pricked by this needle. Won't feel any pain whatsoever. But afterward, at best, they'll be paralyzed. At worst, they'll meet their maker. Perhaps. Too many strange things have happened recently. From Han Jiqing's lingering lunar spiritual root, to He Yunfan's forbidden cultivation technique, to Luo Yang's basketball incident, someone used a Ming needle. Li Muyun couldn't believe. It was all just a coincidence. There must be a cultivator behind all this, manipulating everything. Furthermore, to understand Luo Yang's situation better, he asked for details about today's accident. Only then did Luo Yang explain that he was playing basketball with Zhang Hao. Like any other day, a sudden numbness swept over his lower body. He collapsed unconscious. He woke up in a hospital bed. The name Zhang Hao sounded familiar to Li Muong. He'd heard it before, but couldn't quite place it. Zhang Zihao, beside him, offered a reminder. Zhang Hao's a big deal, he said, a major figure at Lujing University. Meanwhile, at a different location, the mysterious figure behind everything had found Yin Fan and his master's home on Wuhu Mountain. He arrived to pay them a visit. Seeing the stranger fly through the air, both master and disciple realized he might be even stronger than Li Muxian. This was definitely not someone they could trifle with, being experienced and wise. Yin Fan respectfully bowed. Senior, you've come at this late hour. May I ask what brings you here? Ignoring them, the stranger got straight to the point. You two thieves. Where did you get the Xian Tian refining qi cultivation technique? Faced with the interrogation, Yin Fan truthfully explained, this technique was passed down by an immortal master not long ago. However, this man seemed skeptical of Yun Fan's words. According to his understanding, only two families in the world, his own Zhang family and the Ma family, possessed the complete cultivation technique. If the Ma family leaked the secrets, the Zhang family would naturally seek a higher power. They would then expose the Ma family's treachery. This Zhang likely mistook He Yunfan's immortal master for someone from the Ma family. He was from the Ma family. He pressed the pair for the immortal master's location. He Yunfan wasn't foolish enough to reveal the truth. Instead, he spun a lie to conceal Li Muyun's whereabouts. But Zhang was shrewd. He immediately sensed the deception. He released his oppressive aura to intimidate them. Despite the threat, they dared not breathe a word about Li Muxian. This humble one truly doesn't know where the immortal master has gone. You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Once I catch you, I have 100 ways to make you talk. With that, he unleashed his celestial arts. A devastating blow struck the immortal master's mansion. In an instant, the mansion was reduced to rubble and smoke. Fortunately, Yin Fan and Guangxiu had escaped to the secret underground chamber. They narrowly avoided death. A moment's hesitation would have meant their demise. Fear gripped them. They were drenched in cold sweat. He's terrifying. Thank goodness we cultivated the immortal master's techniques. An ordinary person would have been completely obliterated. Not even a trace would remain. Master, I don't understand. Why not just reveal the immortal master's whereabouts? Then everything will be fine. Why offend him unnecessarily? Such naivete. You're so green. If it were that simple, Yin Fan wouldn't have run away. But Old Chung knew, even if he revealed Li Muxuan's location, their enemy might not spare them. After getting the information, he might silence them both. Besides, they'd vowed to join the immortal master. Betraying him was unthinkable. Such an act would be unforgivable. Although Guang, who didn't understand why his slime master was suddenly acting so righteous, he decided to stand with him. Hiding in the 7th level of the secret realm would only buy them some time. Soon after, he'd found them. But before he could strike, Yin Fan acted quickly. Using Li Muyun's portrait, he teleported them to safety. His prey had slipped through his fingers. But Zhang wasn't frustrated. Instead, he realized something. The portrait they used to escape was a spatial artifact. This confirmed his suspicions. The Ma family was behind this. He'd also placed a tracking mark on both Yin Fan and Guangxi. They could run to the ends of the earth, but he would find them. Meanwhile, in Luo Yang's hospital room, Zhang Zihao was excitedly reciting Zhang Hao's impressive resume. According to him, this guy isn't just the most promising basketball player in ZBA history. He's a track and field prodigy, too. To pursue Han Jiqing, he turned down an invitation from the nation's top club. He enrolled in Lujing University with her. While investigating Zhang Hao's background, Zhang Zihao stumbled upon something strange. Athletes who competed against him almost all met unfortunate ends. For instance, just days after Zhang Hao arrived at Lujing, he clashed with the basketball captain Lin Xiang. Shortly after, Lin Xiang dropped out. Even stranger, the university covered it up. Only a few know the truth, and they say that Lin Xiang's broken hand was Zhang Hao's doing. Another incident happened back in high school. Zhang Hao's track and field rival, during a competition, accidentally broke his left leg, shattering his track and field dreams forever. From the Weibo user's perspective, Zhang Hao is incredibly dangerous. If you get in his way, you won't end up well. Lu Hongtao chimes in, appearances can be deceiving. You can know a person's face, but not their heart. He may seem charismatic, but he's vicious underneath. Do you think Zhang Hao had something to do with Luo Yang's injury? Could he be behind it? One incident could be an accident, but multiple times? That's intentional. Li Muhua was initially skeptical, but after hearing Zhang Zihao's stories, I was certain the Mingtram hairpin belonged to Zhang Hao. On the other hand, I thought, if he came here to study because of Han Jiqing, then he must be connected to this spiritual fluid absorption. Lost in thought, Li Moxian suddenly sensed the master and disciple using a spatial artifact. This happened sooner than expected. It surprised me. I excused myself from Luo Yang's room to investigate. Afterwards, I found He Yin Fan and Guang Xia in a garden near the university. He Yin Fan was unconscious. Guang Xia was still barely awake. The moment he saw me, he rushed over, begging me to save his master. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. Just overexerted his spiritual energy. He'll be fine after a few days of rest. Li Mushuan then got down to business, asking Guang Jia what exactly happened. Guang Jia didn't hold back, recounting the events at Mount Wuhu. After hearing the story, Li Mushuan immediately assessed the enemy's strength. He realized that the enemy's cultivation level was at least at the foundation establishment stage. Only then could he achieve flight without wings. Furthermore, on Earth, there was nowhere safe for Shui Yunfan and his disciple, so he decided to let them enter his pocket dimension for refuge. Before Guang Jie could process what was happening, he and his master found themselves floating in a strange new world. Soon after, Li Mu Xian entered the small world to give them some instructions. In this world, you must stay within the bamboo forest. Never venture beyond its boundaries. If you do, even I won't be able to save you. Even if Master hadn't said so, I wouldn't dare leave, not even for 100 lifetimes. Seeing the boy's obedience, Li Mu Xian felt a sense of relief. Next, he arranged for them to rest in the small house, where the young man, Lang Feng, was sleeping. After giving Guang Hui some basic instructions, Li Mu Xian quickly returned to Earth to investigate the enemy's background. Meanwhile, Luo Yang was finally discharged from the hospital, but to avoid expulsion, he made a decision to switch his major from physical education to computer science. At the same time, he became self-sufficient and committed to physical therapy to speed up his recovery. During this time, Li Mushuan and the others often offered help, but he always refused, not wanting to burden anyone, saying he didn't want to be a bother. Because of this, Brother Mei grew increasingly fond of him. He was impressed by the young man's spirit. Such strong will is a good seed for cultivation. If there's a chance, I'd like to help him out. Meanwhile, Zhang Zihao called everyone together. He wanted them to see some strange videos online, starting with a video of a young girl paralyzed for years, able to stand up, a young man, a real-life Superman, saving a child from a near-fatal accident, or a criminal bending steel bars with bare hands, taking down 10 cops single-handedly to escape prison. Zhang Zihao was skeptical at first, but after seeing these videos of these extraordinary individuals, he's almost certain that Master Yunfan and his disciple are spreading the Xian Tianqi refining technique. He's 80% sure that the Xian Tianqi refining technique is real. There's still some debate, but now, similar videos keep popping up all over social media, and none of them are fake. Luo Yang speaks up. He asks to borrow the Xian Tian Qi refining technique to see if it can help him improve. Zhang Ziheo and the others, Lu Hongchuan and Li Muxuan, decided to try cultivating with him. The profound heaven refinement technique was created by Li Muxuan himself after he became an immortal king. It's remarkably easy to cultivate, suitable for a wide range of individuals. Its core principle emphasizes qi refinement. It's not about absorbing spiritual energy, but adapting to its environment. Natural spiritual energy is like the tide, ebbing and flowing. A cultivator is like a rock on the shore, constantly cleansed by the tides, ebb and flow. Embrace the flow, endure the retreat. But cultivation is an arduous path. Those without innate talent gain nothing, even with the best techniques. Their bodies can't handle the spiritual energy. Those with weaker constitutions, when practicing this technique, would only burden their bodies further. In modern scientific terms, spiritual roots are encoded in DNA, even with the status of a Xian Wang. Li Muxian couldn't easily modify his roommate's genetic makeup, rewrite their biological information. After a period of cultivation, they were startled. A rumbling sound emanated from Luo Yang's body. Curious, Lu Hongquan reached out to touch him to investigate. But the moment he made contact, Lu Hongquan was thrown back, as if electrocuted. Immediately, Li Muxian was drawn to the strange phenomenon. Then he realized, I must have misjudged him before, because Laoyang isn't ordinary. He possesses a mutated lightning spiritual core, and it's so powerful. It's attracting heavenly lightning. Li Miyun quickly pushes Zhang Ziheo and Lu Hongchuan to safety. He stays behind to face the lightning. He may only be at the qi refining stage, but our charming protagonist's body is still that of a fairy king. He's a fairy king, after all. He doesn't even fear the heavenly Tao. So why would he fear mere lightning? This heavenly lightning is nothing to him. You think a little lightning strike can hurt me? He speaks and then clashes with the lightning. In a flash, he obliterates it effortlessly. Earth rarely sees a cultivation genius like Henry. With such potential, we're all devoured by the false heavenly Tao. However, Li Muxian was completely unaware that the scene just now had been witnessed by a cultivator at the crystallization realm. It was Good Daolang and his granddaughter, Xiao Jiner. They saw everything from start to finish. Only after the battle ended did Li Muxian notice them. Perhaps sensing Li Muxian's terrifying gaze, his chilling stare, Good Daolang grabbed his granddaughter and fled. Grandpa, what's wrong? Why are we running? That man was terrifying. Even more frightening than Immortal Ma Jia. That old man's pretty fast. Li Muxian didn't bother pursuing them. He felt that someone who reached the crystallization realm under the heavenly Tao's watchful eye was definitely not ordinary. It's possible that this is connected to the underground forces who attacked Shui Yunfan and his master. That's why we need to be extra careful in monitoring them. We can't afford to stir up trouble prematurely. Meanwhile, Luo Yang is still cultivating, completely immersed in his Pikachu state. As for Lu Hongchuan and Zhang Ziheo, they've returned to their dorm room to continue observing him, while waiting for Li Muxuan to return. They discuss Ziheo's cultivation technique. Imagine if the Xian Tian refining technique is real. This world is about to change drastically. So what we do? Just keep studying like this. I have a feeling I'm not cut out for cultivation. We probably have to keep studying. The future is uncertain, but we can make some educated guesses. There's no harm in that. When foolish birds fly ahead. You know, I've been thinking about something lately. After all these months living together, don't you think we're both kind of obedient to Li Muxian? Well, he is handsome. Maybe that's why. As they gossiped, Luo Yang suddenly jolted. He stood up, seemingly back to normal. Seeing their friend recover, the other two guys immediately asked how he felt. After cultivating that technique, it's freaking amazing, dudes. My leg doesn't hurt anymore, and I feel full of energy. Let me show you a jump. He immediately leaped into the air. Holy crap, he hit the ceiling. His two friends were stunned. I thought his leg just healed. Now, there's something wrong with his head? Meanwhile, Li Muxian secretly observed Luo Yang's situation through his lens of insight artifact. As expected of a mutated thunder spirit root, his spiritual energy absorption rate is terrifying. Getting struck by lightning wasn't in vain after all. Moreover, Luo Yang coincidentally is the 100th cultivator to reach the Qi refining stage. This directly helped me take the first step towards returning to my peak. This also means I've completed the second stage. I need 100 cultivators practicing the profound Heaven Foundation establishment technique to recover to the Foundation establishment stage. However, before I could celebrate, the spiritual energy within his inner world began to surge uncontrollably. His cultivation base had suddenly recovered. Meanwhile, the sky within the inner world started to crack. Spiritual energy leaked out, causing Shui Yunfan and his master inside to break out in a cold sweat. They thought the world was ending. Holy crap, Master, what's happening? It's like the apocalypse is coming. Could something have happened to Immortal Master? No, it can't be. This must be a test from Immortal Master. We must have faith in him. Seeing his master's overly optimistic attitude, Piccolo, the young man with limited understanding, was speechless. What else could he say? Meanwhile, in the real world, Li Muxian's surging spiritual energy was affecting everything. Seconds ago, the sky was clear, the sun shining bright. But in the blink of an eye, everything changed. The sky turned ominously dark. Thick, black clouds rolled in. Birds plummeted from the sky. Dogs barked frantically. The faint of heart struggled to breathe. Meanwhile, inside the pocket dimension, Li Muyun fought against the chaotic spiritual energy. The rampant energy threatened to overwhelm him. After a fierce struggle, he finally succeeded. He sealed the tear in the pocket dimension sky. Shui Yunfan and his master embraced, tears of joy streaming down their faces. They wept with relief. Thanks to his efforts, the outside world returned to normal. Calm was restored. Although Li Muxian had noticed the unusual spiritual energy in Luo Yang, but since they were roommates, he couldn't reveal his true identity just yet. Not yet. After careful consideration, Li Muxian decided to have Yun Fan and his master recruit Luo Yang to his team. Luo Yang, Lu Hongquan, and Zhang Zihao were shocked to see the two rising idols appear at their dorm room. They were completely baffled. Why were these two here? Without wasting any time, he and Fan got straight to the point. He explained his purpose: to recruit Luo Yang to the Immortal Mansion. He promised to train Luo Yang into a cultivation genius. It was an offer too good to refuse. Without hesitation, he accepted Yun Fan's offer. He even decided to leave the school and the dormitory, partly to focus on his cultivation, and partly because his enemy was still out there, staying under his nose. Would be like offering himself up on a silver platter. Now only 3 remained in the dorm: Li Muyun, Lu Hongquan, and Zhang Zihao. Seeing their friend embark on the path of cultivation, they felt both happy for him and a little envious of his talent. Our dorm leader is really gone. Dao Xia didn't even glance at me. Guess I'm not cut out for cultivation. Me neither. I'm so envious of him. Walking the path of cultivation seems so easy for him, while we don't even understand spiritual energy. What a load of crap. 2 young men, bored and disillusioned, when Li Muxian returns with steamed meat buns. Seeing their glum faces, he generously shares a bun. They sit together, sharing their troubles. Lu Hongquan tells him about Luo Yang, who was taken by the immortal cultivator Yun Fan to cultivate the Tao. From now on, only the 3 of them will remain in the dorm. At first, Li Muxian thought it was a big deal. Turns out, he was the one who instructed Yun Fan. Still, it's good news. They should be happy for their friend. Happy? My ass. Just yesterday, I was just an ordinary guy. But today, my whole worldview has just collapsed. Completely and utterly shattered. If it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't even want to read anymore. The bookworm suddenly erupted. This intense reaction took Li Muxian by surprise. However, he could understand the young man's feelings. Right now, many would find this hard to accept. Unbelievable things, like cultivation and martial arts, existing in reality. Lu Hongquan was likely one of those people. On the other hand, Zhang Zihao seemed calmer and more rational. In his view, they needed to continue learning. The future was unpredictable, but those who dare to explore first were never wrong. Besides, right now, they've found their direction and formed a plan. They decided to join forces with Shui Yunfan and his disciple to spread the cultivation technique. A few days later, at the male dormitory, a shocking event unfolded. Han Jiqing, Lujing University's hottest girl, was waiting for someone. The moment she appeared, every guy in the dorm rushed out to see if they were the lucky guy in the legend. Just then, Li Muxuan and Lu Honchuan were heading back to their room, drawn by the crowd. They went to see what the commotion was about. Somehov Han Sikning immediately recognized Li Muxuan. She greeted him warmly and familiarly. They looked like they've known each other for ages. Naturally, the surrounding young men were burning with envy after witnessing this scene, green with envy, wishing they could trade places with our charming Ame. Some even went overboard, concocting 49 different scenarios. Imaining Li Muxuan Osho Playboy de, toying with the hot girl's feelings, only to have her show up at his doorstep, demanding responsibility for their child. A child. Seeing the negative public opinion surrounding his senior, Zhang Qiling jumps in to defend her. He couldn't just stand by and watch. Come on, guys. What nonsense are you spouting? Hang Wanner and that guy only met once. Nothing happened, despite explaining until he's blue in the face. These guys still don't believe Zhang Qiling. At this point, Li Mu Xiandu Dong invites Han. Jiqing suggested the small woods behind the school. It would be quieter there to talk. She readily agreed. But a certain troublemaker refused to let them go alone. Instead, she aggressively questioned Mu Xian. Her tone was sharp and accusatory. She demanded Jiqing take her along. Of course, Jiqing refused to let the pest tag along. She didn't want anything to ruin the mood. The woods behind the school were known as a lover's lane. Lush trees provided ample cover and shadows. Meeting there often led to unmentionable activities. For this very reason, many students were filled with envy watching the beautiful Han, Jiqing, and Li Muxian enter the woods. They were green with envy, burning with jealousy. Grandma's here. I curse him a shrink a few centimeters every day. That's way too arrogant. How dare he do that right in front of us? Let's all meet up in the small forest. Or how about we just burn the whole damn forest down? While the guys were busy unleashing their most eloquent insults, spitting out pure verbal fire, Li Muyun and Han Jiqing had already slipped away into the forest. They walked and talked completely in sync with each other. After confirming she hadn't had any health issues since the library incident, he asked her a few more questions. Have you experienced any chills lately? Like your whole body going cold? Anything more serious? Fainting maybe? Or recurring dreams? Do you ever dream of a strange phenomenon at sea, giving birth to a bright moon? Hearing Li Muyun's words, Han Jiqing was quite surprised. She had never told anyone about this, not even the Zhang family. Seeing her doubt, Li Muxian offered a simple explanation. He said he had seen a similar illness in an old acquaintance, and that person had fully recovered after treatment. Although Li Muxian didn't seem to be lying, Han Jiqing still felt uneasy. From what she knew, this was an extremely rare and incurable disease. It was rarely seen in the world. Even the Zhang family's elder could only alleviate her symptoms slightly. A complete cure was definitely not easy. Since she was 5, Han Jiqing had shown symptoms of the illness. Despite consulting numerous doctors, both Western and Eastern medicine failed to pinpoint the cause. There was no effective treatment. Countless doctors, countless consultations, and countless medications proved useless. As she grew older, Han Jiqing's health deteriorated. During an episode, it felt like a million ants biting her flesh. The pain was excruciating. Only the Zhang family's patriarch, Zhang Liuzhong, Zhang Hao's grandfather, could provide some relief, easing the pain and the cold. From then on, at regular intervals, Han Jiqing would visit the Zhang family for treatment. From her story, Li Muyun began to suspect the true extent of Zhang Liuzhong's abilities. However, he was wrong about her illness, because this isn't actually an illness. On the contrary, for a cultivator, this is considered a tremendous stroke of luck, a destined opportunity. And what I did can't truly be considered helping in the traditional sense. With that, Li Muyun asked Han Jiqing to close her eyes. He would impart some cultivation knowledge to her. At the same time, he would transmit information about the lunar spirit root and a suitable cultivation technique, the silver moon 7 decrees, directly into her consciousness. This way, she would comprehend it more easily. First, the Tao of the supreme truth of the void. Second, the art of the mystic envoy of the illusory sea. Third, the Tao of the invisible, those possessing a spirit root, entering the Tao through one spirit root, and so on and so forth. After absorbing the information, the technique Han Jiding began to show the first signs of change. A strange heat suddenly coursed through her body, though in reality, an icy aura was emanating from her. Li Muxian explained that it was just an illusion. Her body temperature had dropped so drastically that it was sending false signals to her brain. Furthermore, he had already activated her lunar spirit root. Now, she just needed to sit down, regulate her breathing, and cultivate using the techniques he'd taught her. Despite having no clue what Li Muxian was talking about, Han Jiqing obediently followed his instructions. Soon after, she successfully activated her Ice Queen mode, freezing a corner of the forest solid. Li Muxian couldn't help but be impressed, as expected of the lunar spirit root. Such terrifying power, even just activated. If Shi Lang hadn't fallen back then, he'd probably be a heavenly king by now. Meanwhile, Zhang Hao's lackey, Zhang Yuan, as soon as he heard the news about his boss's crush getting snatched up by another guy, immediately called to report it. Even though Zhang Hao was busy with business far away, the news that his beloved girl had just followed some freshmen into Lover's Forest was too much for him to bear. He immediately booked a flight. Keep an eye on them for me. I'll be right there. A short while later, Zhang Hao and his lackey Zhang Yuan arrived at Lover's Forest, where Li Muxian was waiting for Han Jiqing to finish cultivate. But upon seeing this scene, the two of them didn't seem too surprised. Instead, they're much more interested in Li Muxian. Unbelievable. Besides us, there's another hidden Qi refining stage cultivator in the school. Kid, don't you know Luo Jing is the Zhang family's territory? Do I, a cultivator, need to announce myself before entering Luo Jing? Just a small cultivation family on Earth. My family wouldn't even bat an eye at them. And yet they have the audacity to demand that I report to them? Li Muxvan's face screams. Sorry, I don't give a damn. This naive young master sees Li Muxian's defiance and throws a punch without a second thought. However, he's no match for Li Muxian one-on-one. He couldn't even touch a single hair on his head, sent flying with a single palm strike. He went 100 meters straight to meet his ancestors. It's been a while since I've wielded this kind of power, so I'm a little out of practice. I might have overdone it a bit, even though I've only recovered to the peak Qi refining stage. It's enough for now. Meanwhile, Zhang Hao had been watching the whole time. He was completely traumatized. After all, Zhang Yuan was at the middle stage of Qi refining, but Li Muxian took him out with one hit. That kind of power was insane. However, Zhang Hao is smarter than Zhang Yuan. He knew how to use his brain. Instead of fighting recklessly, he decided to try and calm Li Muxian down. Then he'd go home and get help from his clan. Han Jiqing belongs to the Zhang family. She suffered from a strange illness since childhood. Teaching her cultivation will only harm her. If you stop now, I'll pretend this never happened. That's a clever tactic, Zhang Hao, using retreat as an advance. But ultimately, you're not qualified to negotiate with Li Muxian. A bunch of snot-nosed brats. Trying to fool someone of my caliber? I'm not even afraid of the heavenly Tao. This time, little brother, you're in for a long cold night. Seeing that persuasion was futile, he decided to go all out against Li Muxian. Absolutely, Han Jiqing's lunar spirit root must not awaken. Otherwise, even with the patriarch's forbidden techniques, the lunar spirit root couldn't be grafted onto him. So that was the reason the Zhang family had been intentionally getting close to Han Jiqing for years, especially Zhang Hao, the one who would benefit the most. Even if it meant risking his life using talismans in combat, he was determined to stop Li Muxian from laying a hand on Han Jiqing's lunar spirit root. Initially, Zhang Hao was confident he could restrain Li Muxian, but Su Kana informed him that his body was as tough as iron, able to withstand even heavenly thunderbolts, let alone this paltry thunder magic. Seeing the ineffectiveness of his attack, he quickly switched to his Mingjin amulet. He used it to distract Li Muxian before attacking his true target, Han Xikning. Fortunately, Li Muxian reacted swiftly, saving Han Jiqing's life. From a way he used the Mingjin amulet to assassinate, Li Muxian easily deduced that he was also the one who attacked Luo Yangming. So you're Zhang Hao. I was planning to find you and settle the score, but you dare to show your face here. Li Muxian turned to reassure Han Jiqing. Focus on your cultivation. Leave everything here to me. Soon after, under Li Muxian's protection, Han Jiqing successfully entered her breakthrough stage. She's so close to fully awakening. Zhang Hao is growing increasingly anxious. He's filled with frustration and resentment. Years of meticulous planning are about to crumble. Desperate times call for desperate measures. He plays his trump card, the Azure Steel Sword. He's going all in against Li Muxian and Han Jiqing. But these paltry toys are hardly a match for the one known as the Immortal King. As Zhang Hao's sword descends, Li Muxian catches it barehanded. Without hesitation, Zhang Hao is speechless, utterly stunned. He never imagined someone this powerful, someone so terrifyingly strong that they could stop his life-bound, magical weapon with their bare hand. He's frozen in fear. Meanwhile, Li Muxian, tired of playing cat and mouse with Zhang Hao, he tightened his grip on the man. With a menacing tone, he threatened Zhang Hao not to disturb Han Jiqing's cultivation. Otherwise, he'd join the other guy who just met his end. You'd think these two would have learned their lesson and kept quiet, but they were still bitter about Han Jiqing's impending awakening. So, they made another foolish move. You so-called geniuses, why are you all trying to ruin things for me? Just a little more time. An ancestor would have grafted the moon's spirit root onto me. Then, I would have become the most promising cultivator in the world. But now all hope is lost. This is all your fault. He pulled out a Zhuji pill. He would force a breakthrough, fueled by the elixir's power. Zhang Hao breaks through to the foundation establishment stage. He's finally free from Li Muxian's control. According to Zhang Hao, if his ancestor hadn't ordered him to suppress his cultivation to ensure the success of the spirit root transplant, he would have reached foundation establishment long ago. Li Muxian starts to piece together the truth. No wonder Zhang Hao was so eager to help Han Jiqing absorb the spirit fluid. It wasn't out of kindness. Every cultivation technique has a purpose in the cultivation world. Some demonic cultivation techniques allow one to steal another's spirit root. The lower the cultivator's realms, the higher the success rate. It seems the excessive elixir consumption is causing delusions. Zhang Hao is experiencing severe delusions of grandeur, a severe case of main character syndrome. You old fool, you're completely clueless about your own weakness, boasting about taking down Li Muxian and locking up Han Jiqing. Have you forgotten getting your butt kicked just now? Our man Li Muxian is thinking, yeah, I'm so scared. Since his seal was broken and his qi refining stage began, he hasn't truly shown his power. This qi foundation cultivator, Zhang Hao, is perfect practice. Moments later, Zhang Hao, impatient, charges at Li Muxian, weapon blazing. He plans to end this quickly. But as they say, the loudest mouths get slapped the hardest. Zhang Hao is no exception. Before his weapon can even graze Li Muxian, it stopped by 2 fingers. While Zhang Hao was still stunned, completely clueless about what was happening, Li Muxian unleashed a straight right hook right into the old man's face, nearly sending him to meet his ancestors. Finally, the old man seemed to regain some sense. Impossible. I've already reached the foundation establishment stage. How can I lose to a mere qi refinement cultivator like you? This isn't right. A qi refinement cultivator can only control qi with objects. They can't materialize spiritual energy. Who are you? A man about to die doesn't need to know that much. Hearing Li Muxian pronounce his fate, Zhang Hao is utterly terrified. In his entire life, he'd never imagined someone would dare to touch him. Panic seized him. He desperately started name-dropping his influential relatives. You know who my dad is? I'm the sole heir of the cultivation world. Zhang Lu, the patriarch of the Zhang family. My great-grandfather's a nascent soul grand perfection stage 3 cultivator. My grandfather, Zhang Xiang, is a nascent soul mid-stage cultivator. And my old man, Zhang Jidong, is the current Zhang family head. You lay a finger on me, and my whole family will make you pay. After listening to this brat's rambling, Brother Mei was getting quite impatient. Oh, the Zhang family is powerful, you say, but those names you mentioned, I've never heard a single one. Without hesitation, Li Muxian made his move. Luckily for Zhang Hao, his family arrived in the nick of time, saving his sorry hide. His ancestors must be working overtime in the afterlife, managed to save that wretched boy from disaster. Moreover, his rescuer was an elder, someone who understands social etiquette, unlike the young punks in their family. Despite his grandson being thoroughly beaten, the old man wasn't angry. Instead, he politely introduced himself and showed a friendly attitude towards Li Muxian. I am Zhang Xian, the 3rd elder of the Zhang family. Forgive my boldness, fellow Taoist, but why do you want to completely destroy this junior? He saw that his opponent was at the core formation stage, clearly a higher realm than his own. Yet he remained humble, Li Muxian Sothensati, giving Zhang Hao a chance to explain himself. However, the little rascal didn't know that the heavens and earth were still vast and unforgiving. Seeing that he had backup, he immediately went back on his word and accused Li Muxian. He didn't just show mercy, he tried to harm him. Clearly, Zhang Xian didn't believe him. He was already piecing together the truth by observing the scene. After yelling for Zhang Hao to calm down, he turned and bowed. Please, Li Muxian, forgive this matter. He claimed Han Jiqing was one of his own and tried to take her away. That sly old fox is playing dirty. Li Muxian, of course, refused. Seeing Li Muxian's unwavering stance, Zhang Xian lost his patience. He resorted to intimidation, using his family's influence. Do you truly wish to offend the Zhang family? We've always been the ones to weed out the undesirables. No matter how powerful you are, with the backing of a cultivation clan, do you want to make enemies of all those who exterminate masters? Despite knowing the old man's threatening intentions, Li Muxian didn't give a damn. Instead, he wanted to test the old man's limits. See how far he could be pushed. How about a compromise on Overon Shiking, and let me cripple her spiritual roots. Then we'll forget this ever happened. This was the last straw. Zhang Xian couldn't take it anymore. He decided to confront Li Muxian. At first, Li Muxian thought Zhang Xian was shrewd, but seeing the old man's foolish move, he realized how ignorant he was. Even if Zhang Xian's cultivation level was higher, a realm above him, it might not matter. But he never expected that the old man would try to suppress him by destroying the pagoda. Let's be honest, Zhang Xian is nowhere near strong enough to even scratch Li Muyun's 1,000-year-old immortal king true body. Hell, his entire family combined couldn't even touch a single hair on its head. With just a few basic moves, Li Muyun blocked every attack from the magical artifact. Seeing this, the old man finally realized the gravity of the situation. He frantically urged his grandson, Zhang Hao, to run. It's dangerous. Despite having no clue what was going on, Zhang Hao obeyed without question. He ran for his life. Only after getting some distance away did he dare to ask, "Third uncle, why do we have to run?" Two Foundation establishment cultivators like us, afraid of a mere chi refinement brat. No matter how strong he is, he can't withstand a magical treasure, especially not our clan's Wuji pagoda. Zhang Xian finally confesses to his nephew. That was a fake. I just wanted to scare him. The real one's been in the ancestral forbidden grounds for ages. You're still so naive, my boy. The cultivation world has strict hierarchies, but there are exceptions, like that black dog and featherless bird, who constantly antagonize our clan. No matter how many times our ancestor logs them out, they always come back. But that guy from earlier, he was far more terrifying. He was only at the chi refinement stage. Yet when I stood before him, I couldn't help but tremble. Meanwhile, it only took Li Muxian a moment to destroy the fake Wuji pagoda. At the same time, he slightly injured the life-bound connection between Zhang Xian and himself. The old man suffered a minor backlash. Meanwhile, Zhang Xian and Zhang Hao had fled quite a distance, so they decided to stop and rest. Overcome with curiosity, Zhang Hao continued to question Zhang Xian about Li Muxian. Just who is he? What's his background? How could he be so fearless against the Zhang family? He doesn't seem intimidated by us at all. Truthfully, Zhang Xian was also shocked. He never expected to encounter such a powerful chi refinement cultivator. Based on his vast experience, he sensed that Li Muxian's power felt eerily similar to that of Ma Jiaxian after he cultivated the Su Shun technique, the technique that grants the user godlike abilities. His cultivation base seems unstable. At times, it surpasses even Patriarch Zhang, but then it plummets to a lower realm. From this, they suspect Li Muxian is likely connected to the Ma family. After all, only the Ma family would dare defy the Zhangs. Zhang Xian then warned Zhang Hao. He tells the young fool to stay away from school for a while. However, Han Jiqing remains crucial. They must retrieve what was taken. The problem is her spirit root is about to awaken, and according to Patriarch Zhang, once it awakens, transplantation to Zhang Hao will be difficult. But Zhang Xian assures his nephew not to worry, because Patriarch Zhang Han Jiqing has been layered with numerous dark spells. It's a precaution to protect her lunar spirit root. The old master is also confident in the patriarch's methods. Even if the Ma family patriarch himself intervened, he wouldn't be able to break through them. Meanwhile, Li Muyun has discovered the dark magic binding Han Jiqing. It's not just one layer, but multiple. This dark magic is truly terrifying. An ordinary person would have no chance of dispelling it. But unfortunately for the spell, it met its match. As he understands it, dark magic's most frightening aspect is its insidious and mysterious corrosive nature. However, in this world, nothing can escape the gaze of his heavenly flame scripture. In mere minutes, he completely obliterates the dark magic and exited Han Jiqing's body. Thanks to this, Han Jiqing successfully awakened and quickly broke through her qi shackles. Li Muxian then frankly told her about the Zhang family situation. Given the current circumstances, he suspected the Zhang family wouldn't let her off easily. With her current abilities, he felt she was safest by his side. Flattered by the handsome man's offer, Han Jiqing was surprised and flustered. Her mind raced with countless romantic scenarios. She quickly agreed and promptly accepted him as her master. Perhaps it had been so long since he'd been called master that Li Muxian felt a pang of nostalgia. Moreover, Han Jiqing bears a striking resemblance to his deceased disciple. Memories of the past come flooding back. In fact, his failure to protect his disciple haunts Li Muxian to this day. That's why he's even more determined to protect Han Jiqing. Before leaving, he urges her to cultivate diligently. Once she masters the art of manipulating qi and can condense her spiritual energy into ice, he will personally accept her as his disciple. With everything settled, they return to the dormitory, leaving behind a critically injured Zhang Yuan. "Help! I'm still alive. I think I can be saved. Someone call an ambulance." After breaking through to the qi refining stage, Li Muxian's relationship with other cultivators, the profound heaven art, grows deeper with each passing day. Within a 5-mile radius, he can sense the general location of everyone, along with their cultivation levels. Most notably, today he detected a cultivator reaching the foundation establishment stage, and it definitely wasn't He Yun Fan or his disciple. With their talent, without relying on Dan Yao, reaching foundation establishment would be difficult. As Li Muxian pondered this, the cultivator who just broke through suddenly vanished without a trace. Li Muxian was completely baffled. He suspected a failed breakthrough attempt. Moments later, he received an urgent call from He Yun Fan, informing him Luo Yang's in serious trouble. Things are looking really bad for him right now. Hearing this, Li Muxian instructed Han Ji. He told him to be cautious of the Zhang family and to return immediately after investigating. A short while later, he arrived back at the dormitory. He quickly assessed the situation. According to Lao He, it happened just moments ago. After noticing Luo Yang's unusual state, he and his master tried to wake him, but they couldn't break through the barrier of swirling lightning surrounding him and ward off the evil. They had no choice but to call for help. With a single glance, Li Muxian knew Luo Yang was being protected by his lightning spirit root. Although Luo Yang's breakthrough failed, he possessed the qi of the foundation establishment stage. He suspected that without the interference of those evil spirits, Luo Yang would have successfully reached foundation establishment. First, the lightning tribulation, then demonic interference. As expected, this world's unorthodox doubt constantly hinders cultivation. Li Muxian decides to take a gamble. He'll completely sever Luo Yang's connection to this world and its heavens. No sooner said than done. Without hesitation, he unleashes a forbidden technique. A massive surge of spiritual energy is drawn forth. Finally, the connection is severed. Luo Yang is pulled into Li Muxian's pocket dimension. Although brimming with spiritual energy, the dimension becomes a prison. But for Luo Yang, with his lightning spiritual root, it's a perfect cultivation ground. Li Muxian went to such lengths for a reason. Luo Yang will become a powerful ally. After settling Luo Yang in the pocket dimension, Li Muxian returns to Earth. He has business with He Yun Fan. Specifically, the task I assigned to those two, master and disciple. According to Shui Yunfan's report, after several days of live streaming and promotion on various platforms, Tens of thousands have attempted cultivation. However, those who can sense spiritual energy and enter the chi refinement stage are fewer than 300. Of those, only 37 have reached the mid-stage of chi refinement, and only 2 have reached the late stage. Frankly, these numbers are far too low. Despite the abundant spiritual energy on Earth, the public's cultivation progress is stagnant. In fact, not to mention others, even Shui Yunfan and his disciple possess mediocre aptitude. There's little hope for significant progress at this rate. Li Muyun has only one option left: to recruit even more people into cultivation. Meanwhile, He Yunfan had gathered all the cultivators at the mid-chi refining stage and above into a single group. He had them chat and report their activities to him. Good heavens, these fellow Taoists ask countless cultivation questions every single day. Unfortunately, although my disciple and I started cultivating early, our current cultivation is only at the mid-chi refining stage. We simply can't answer all of their questions. That's easy. Tell them to cultivate diligently on their own. There's no need to rush. Just wait until we have a sufficient number of applicants. Then, I'll personally select the most promising individuals with the best aptitude from the group, and I'll establish a specialized training class. I will address all their questions and concerns then. He then assigned new tasks to the disciple and master, He Yunfan. Li Muxian offered a few words of encouragement, hoping to boost their productivity even further. You two have done an excellent job this time, but spreading the cultivation technique needs a stronger push. We need to get more people cultivating. He Yunfan was clearly overjoyed to receive Li Muxian's approval. He was even more determined to help spread the word, to find more cultivators. But the problem is, our live stream account has been permanently banned for promoting superstition and feudal practices. Even new accounts are instantly banned. It's the same on other platforms too. Xie Guang felt they had run out of ways to spread their teachings, to reach a wider audience. Faced with this awkward predicament, He Yunfan wasn't discouraged. On the contrary, he was determined to go big. Instead of operating online, they would take their operation offline. First, they withdraw all their savings to print flyers. Then, they distribute them personally. Xie Guang immediately objected. That was their entire retirement fund. If they spent all, they'd be left with nothing. They'd be living on air. But to the experienced He Yunfan, it was a worthy investment. He urged his disciple to reconsider. They were cultivators now. They couldn't view the world with mortal eyes. Long story short, if they followed Li Muxian, they might even achieve immortality. Why risk my retirement fund for this? After a pep talk from his master, he saw the wisdom in his words. He dropped all objections and obeyed without question. Meanwhile, Li Muxian skipped the dorm and headed straight for the Lujing University rooftop. After careful consideration, he realized something. Falsehood reigns supreme in this world, while true genius is met with envy and malice. Han Jiqing and Luo Yang are perfect examples. Both were targeted and harmed by wicked individuals. He Yunfan and his disciple can only barely tap into a cultivator's true potential. Normally, Li Muxian thought recovering to the foundation establishment realm, or even a golden core realm, would suffice. But to reach even higher realms, it's going to be incredibly difficult. That's why I have to handle this personally. I need to scout more talent and nurture them myself. Meanwhile, after scanning for a while, the Tianyin Mirror finally reports its findings to Li Muyun. Master, within this university, there are 2 individuals possessing heaven-bestowed spiritual roots. They're the lightning spiritual root and the lunar spiritual root. Even during the golden age of the Xinyan continent, such talents were exceptionally rare. I believe there are no other prodigies within this university. Furthermore, you've already thoroughly investigated the male dormitories. There are no promising seedlings left there, worthy of your personal guidance. Therefore, the only remaining location is the female dormitory. Frankly, Li Muyun found this incredibly troublesome. If he were still at his peak, then my divine sense can encompass this entire world. I can easily locate talented individuals across the globe. There's no need to waste time and effort searching small areas like this. Next, Li Muxian swiftly heads towards the female dormitory. He extends his divine sense outward to investigate. Most possess only mixed spiritual roots, nothing noteworthy. Suddenly, he detects an unusual spiritual energy fluctuation emanating from a north. Li Muxian quickly moves towards it. Meanwhile, a young man named Lang Yang is being scolded by his physics professor. He's being ridiculed for his belief in mystical cultivation. Yet somehow, miraculously, Li Muxian suddenly appeared in the adjacent lab, startling Lang Yang. "Student, when did you get in here? That's dangerous. Don't touch it." Li Muxian, however, ignored the warning and calmly continued to examine the equipment. Finally, he responded casually, "This thing is quite fascinating. Modern circuitry can be used in such a way. I'm very interested in this device. And the spirit root and spirit particles your teacher mentioned. Could you tell me more?" Apparently stung by his teacher's earlier criticism, Lang Yang didn't bother keeping his research a secret. He openly shared his work with a complete stranger like Li Muxian. In truth, this young man was a physics experimentalist. I should have trusted science. But for some reason, ever since I was little, I've been able to sense this strange energy. It's like it's all around us. No matter what I do, I can't prove it exists. Every time I try to concentrate it, it causes an explosion. No one believes me. They think I'm completely nuts. Hearing Ling Yang's frustration, Li Muyun ventures a question. Besides the scientific framework of the modern world, do you consider the possibility of other systems existing? Based on your experiences, I mean, Ling Yang thinks what he's saying is utterly impossible. The universe is vast, while human knowledge is limited, and many phenomena remain unproven. So I don't have all the answers. Li Muxian then demonstrates a bit of spiritual energy, letting Lang Yang witness it firsthand. But he didn't expect that the young man wouldn't be surprised by spiritual energy at all. Instead, he conducts a chemistry experiment, creating something that visually resembles spiritual energy. Then explains, "We got bored of this stuff back in high school. Just pour butane from a lighter into a soap bubble and light it. Dealing with smart people is such a headache." Even Li Muxian is stumped. He's at a loss with this guy. So he has no choice but to show him the wonders of cultivation and magic. Even then, Lang Yang isn't entirely convinced until he was certain it wasn't some kind of trick. Only then did he truly accept the existence of supernatural forces. "So, boss, are you ready to hear my story? Please enlighten me, master." Seeing Ling Yang's eagerness, Li Muxian was quite pleased. He used his powers to enlighten him. In a place far, far away, humans call it Lingzi, after it merges with nature. It's called Lingqi. With Li Muxian's guidance, Ling Yang successfully used technology to prove the existence of Lingqi. However, Li Muxian didn't anticipate the rapid concentration of Lingqi. It was likely to explode. He quickly stepped in to stop it. Fortunately, the explosion wasn't too large, only resulting in material damage. Young Master Ling Yang remained completely unscathed, without a scratch on him. Seeing this outcome, he initially thought he had failed again. But Li Muxian didn't see it that way, because in reality, he had successfully condensed spiritual energy into a physical substance. In the cultivation world of the Xianyan continent, this is known as a spirit stone. Even Li Muxian himself was surprised by this unexpected result. Not to mention ordinary people, even cultivators in the cultivation world might not be able to create spirit stones themselves. Therefore, he suspected that the false heavenly Tao had altered Earth's rules. This change meant that spirit stones and spirit herbs would no longer be naturally formed and controlled by a few cultivators. Just like with Zhongfan and the Zhong family, if we could combine this with modern science and technology, we could break through the limitations of the false heavenly Tao. For all cultivators, this would be a monumental leap forward. It would greatly benefit cultivation. Perhaps even I, myself, could finally escape the confines of Earth. Of course, it's not just Li Muxian. Young Master Lang Yang is also incredibly excited by these results. This is amazing. So much energy contained within such a small stone. If we can stabilize its release, it could revolutionize everything. A completely new energy source. Later, upon meeting his teacher again, he immediately showed off his accomplishment to his professor to prove that he hadn't made a mistake choosing this path. But the professor still seemed skeptical. He stubbornly dismissed all of Ling Yang's hard work, leaving him utterly speechless. Furthermore, because of the earlier explosion, it was likely that Ling Yang would be banned from the physics lab. However, he was in a different position now and didn't really care. Instead, He was more interested in learning from Li Muhang. There's no better teacher than opportunity. He seized this chance to convince our protagonist to fund his research with some new equipment. In return, he would dedicate all his research findings to him. He thought for a moment. Li Muxian felt this was a mutually beneficial deal. It seemed fair to both sides. He asked Ling Yang for a cost estimate for the experimental equipment. After all, he and Fan had already linked a bank account for him to use. He had access to the funds. Ling Yang immediately pulled out his calculator and came up with an astronomical figure. Obviously, he couldn't afford it. He didn't have the funds for such expensive equipment. Therefore, he couldn't fulfill the request immediately. He proposed an alternative solution. Instead, he gave Ling Yang He Yun Fan's contact information. He Yun Fan could directly address Ling Yang's questions. Once he understands spiritual energy well enough, I'll personally arrange the equipment. Equipment. This is too good to pass up. Roger that, boss. Just wait. I'll head over there as soon as I'm done cleaning up here. Meanwhile, Master Huiyun and his disciple, Yun Fan, after spending their last savings, set up a stall on the street. Their goal, to spread the word about cultivation. They gave away cultivation manuals and even eggs to attract a crowd. It wasn't long before their stall was completely cleared out. Huguang started to worry. Their retirement fund would only last them 2 or 3 more days. It wouldn't be sustainable. But Yun Fan remained confident in his plan. He told his master to be patient. Some things take time, he said. We're at a disadvantage right now. But once everyone realizes the value of the Xintian refining qi technique will gain the upper hand. Meanwhile, Li Muyun has passed away. But the young man, Lang Yang, seems to have a natural affinity for spiritual energy. He likely possesses a heavenly earth spiritual root. Besides benefiting Li Muyun's spirit root experiment, Lang Yang could become a powerful cultivator. He deserves to be nurtured. So, after using the Tianyin scripture to scan Lujing University, he's found 3 promising talents: Han Xikning, Luo Yang, and Lang Yang. Aside from these 3, almost no one else could catch his eye. According to Tianyin Jing, Lujing University boasted the highest concentration of geniuses in the country. It was a prestigious institution where only young people with exceptional IQs could enroll. Those with spiritual roots were naturally far more intelligent than ordinary people. Therefore, to find more talented cultivators, Li Muxian had to visit renowned universities. But before he could finalize his plans, he received an unexpected message from Han Jiqing. Apparently, her father had sent someone to fetch her, claiming her mother was ill. But her intuition told her something wasn't right. So, she asked for his help. Reading this, Li Muxian knew exactly what was going on. Han Jiqing is being targeted by the Zhang family. To avoid further complications, he's decided to handle this permanently, before setting off to find more cultivation geniuses. Li Muxian quickly arrives at Han Jiqing's father's parking spot. He's there to rescue her. As he suspected, not just her father, but all the surrounding guards are under mind control. Child's play for Li Muxian. He dispels it instantly. To infiltrate the enemy's lair, he gets in the car with Han Jiqing. The onlookers are stunned and envious. The car speeds off, heading towards the outskirts of Lujing City. They arrive at an abandoned cave. Li Muxian instantly recognizes the place. This place, it's a blessed grotto. A spiritual vein was born here. But how did it become so dark, so desolate? Han Jiqing barely had time to process the situation before her father forced her deeper inside. Further into the cave, of course. She was absolutely terrified. She wanted nothing to do with whatever he had planned. Even Li Muxian sensed the danger lurking within. Stay here, he told her. Wait for me. We'll talk after I've dealt with this. With that, he bravely stepped forward. Jiqing's father tried to stop him, but Muxian quickly broke free of the soul-controlling technique. His mind was clear again. Meanwhile, the masterminds behind all, Zhang Xian and Zhang Hao, were watching from the control room. Zhang Hao was puzzled. Why completely antagonize the Han Corporation? Over just one Han Jiqing, it seemed hardly worth the risk. But with the wisdom of experience, the old man, Zhang Xian, believed it was absolutely necessary. The Zhang family had the resources to prop up 10 Han corporations if they wanted. However, a Han Jiqing and Yu Linkan were once in a millennium treasures. If anything went wrong, their descendants would face the wrath of their ancestors. Perhaps for this very reason, he decided to take the risk and gamble with this young fool. Too bad their luck had run out. Our beloved protagonist had arrived to dismantle them both. That is, until Li Muyun appeared. Zhang Xian realized that Han Sangwan was under a soul control technique. He realized Han Jiqing's father had broken free. Desperate, he decided to go all out. Right off the bat, he unleashed his ultimate move, Qianquan Reversal. The entire cave violently shook. Outside, Han Jiqing and his son anxiously waited, worried about Li Muxian's safety. Inside, Li Muxian barely dodged the attack, only to be trapped in a spirit absorption formation. Seeing him trapped, Zhang Xian was ecstatic. You've realized it too late. For millennia, the Zhang clan has dealt with unruly cultivators and drawn power from the Great One. I've suppressed the spirit veins across the globe, and the very ground you stand upon is a place long drained by this formation. If I were to reverse the formation, what do you think would happen? A place devoid of spiritual energy is like a sponge squeezed dry. It will suck you dry of your own spirit energy, reducing you to a mere skeleton. Despite the dire warning, our fearless hero remains unimpressed. Yeah, I'm so scared. Sarcastically, if it's so powerful, why don't you try it? As Zhang Xian gloats, Li Muxian releases spiritual energy from his inner world. The formation is overwhelmed and collapses. Zhang Xian is stunned, utterly shocked. His grandson beside him is terrified, completely clueless about what just happened. What in the world is third uncle? How can his body contain so much spiritual energy? I've seen a lot in my time, lived through 70 winters, but I, Zhang Xian, have never witnessed anything this terrifying. Old Zhang Xian was speechless, unable to answer his nephew. Damn it, kid, how would I know? If you're asking me, who am I supposed to ask? Sensing the situation spiraling out of control and the imminent risk of grave robbery, he attempted a final, decisive blow. He aimed to obliterate Li Muxuan completely. Zhang Hao, sensing his uncle's intent, was filled with terror. He immediately intervened. Third uncle, have you gone mad? That thing has been sealed for millennia. If you release it, it won't just be us. All of Luojing will be in danger. Ignoring his grandson's pleas, the old man stubbornly continues the ritual. He's determined to eliminate Li Muxian. The moment the flag plants itself into the formation, a monstrous creature is unleashed. One look, and our protagonist recognizes it as the guardian spirit beast, but it's in a frenzied state. Guardian spirit beasts are typically born within sacred mountains, rich with spirit veins. If the spirit veins are severely damaged, the guardian spirit beast goes berserk, transforming into a bloodthirsty monster. Judging by the beast's current state, Li Muxian surmises that the formation has absorbed its spirit veins, driving it to desperation. That's why it went berserk. Not to mention, the Zhang family sealed and imprisoned it for millennia. Now they release it to deal with Li Muxian. Fine. Have it your way. If you want spiritual energy so badly, I'll let you drown in it. In the next instant, Li Muxian obliterates the guardian spirit beast. Stunned, speechless, both Zhang Xian and Zhang Hao are utterly dumbfounded. What in the world just happened? How could it explode like that? A world created from pure energy. Even a Ma family's immortals couldn't achieve such a feat. Who are you? Finally, the truth dawns on him. Li Muxian was on a completely different level. Ordinary cultivators, like them, couldn't even hope to compare. The old man frantically begged for mercy. He swore he'd never touch the Han family or Han Jiqing again. But Su Kana knew it was too late. Too late to salvage the situation. Li Muxian was determined to see this through. He wouldn't let them escape and cause more trouble. Seeing his unwavering resolve, both men panicked. Their only thought was to run for their lives. Suddenly, Zhang Hao remembered the magical treasure given to him by his ancestor. Without hesitation, he used it. He left Zhang Xian, the old man, behind a stall. Betrayed by his own grandson, the old man was furious. Moreover, he knew what fate awaited him. Trapped, with no escape, Zhang Xian's desperation intensified. He lunged at Li Muxian, fearless and ferocious, like a rabid animal, intent on taking Li Muxian down with him. But the old man never anticipated Li Muxian's control over the mountain's guardian beast. He used it to counterattack, Zhang Xian's meticulously crafted plan to drain Li Mu Xian's spiritual energy backfired spectacularly. It sent him logging out of planet Earth permanently. Despite his victory, Li Mu Xian didn't leave immediately. He lingered, extracting information from Zhang Xian's corpse. Using soul searching, he uncovered a crucial piece of information. Most cultivators were assassinated by the world of cultivation. He needed to delve deeper. Unfortunately, there's a mental restriction within his body. It not only protects his memories, but can also counterattack anyone who tries to intrude. And the guardian spirit beast, Li Mu Xian, who just retrieved the 10 souls, was unfortunately struck. Luckily, I intervened and saved him. Otherwise, he would have been on his way to the afterlife. On the other hand, this creature's performance wasn't bad. Sealed for so many years, its spiritual energy has long since dissipated. So, I decided to release it into my small world to recover. After settling and instructing the guardian spirit beast, Li Mu Xian leisurely exited the cave to meet with Han Jiqing and his father, specifically to have a private conversation with Han Sangwan. Only when they were alone did he tell him about the Zhang family. It turns out that back then, the Zhang family's patriarch approached Han Jiqing's parents and promised to cure Han Jiqing. However, over the years, no matter how prosperous the Han Corporation became, it was all for naught. Everything fell into the hands of the Zhang family. Even their lives were in the Zhang's control. Furthermore, Han Sangguan had long known about Han Jiqing's rare constitution, containing the legendary Yulingon. As a father, he directly asked Li Mu Xian, "Are you here for my daughter's constitution? Are you after her special abilities? As long as you don't harm Han Jiqing and keep her safe, I'll give you the entire Han Corporation." Li Mu Xian's decision to save Han Jiqing, it's fate that brought you two together. Besides, she willingly asked to be your disciple. Everything that happened was meant to be. Initially, Li Muqin didn't want to be indebted to Han Sangwan, but then he remembered his expenses, Ling Yang's equipment costs, and He Yun Fan and his disciples' living expenses. So he agreed. Before leaving, Li Muqin gave Han Sangwan He Yun Fan's contact information. He asked Han Sangwan to look after him and instructed him to help the old man. Meanwhile, Zhang Hao, using a magical artifact, escaped to the Zhang family's sacred grounds. He sought their protection, but his incompetence. So his grandfather, Patriarch Zhang Jidong, the head of the Zhang family, was furious. He decided to punish him by confining him to the Black Prison. For 6 months, no outside contact. Once he dealt with his grandson, he turned his attention to the cloaked figure beside him. Their topic, Li Mu Xuan. Their ancestor was still slumbering in the ruins, after all. He wouldn't emerge anytime soon. They couldn't risk making a big fuss. After much deliberation, they chose the most ruthless solution: eliminate the budding cultivators, those practicing the profound heaven-refining qi technique, and then sacrifice them all to his dark spirit. Back on the other side, thanks to the Han Corporation's financial backing, Lang Yang, that young man, now had enough to buy top-of-the-line lab equipment, the best money could buy. Meanwhile, He Yun Fan and his disciple were moved into a glittering gold mansion. Pure opulence. It radiated wealth and luxury. Even now, Guang Xiao still couldn't believe it. Everything felt surreal. In his poor, simple life, he never imagined setting foot in a high-society villa, especially not one in Lujing. Seeing his disciple's awestruck expression, He Yun Fan offered a reminder. "How many times have I told you? Don't be distracted by material wealth. Focus on your cultivation. Reaching the foundation establishment stage is what truly matters." He's always got a lecture ready, so he never expected the kid to talk back. "But Master, just a few days ago, you were discussing life's ideals with a female devotee. What's the meaning of this?" Ahem. It was just a casual conversation. Besides, Master is getting up there in years. As the two chatted amicably, Han Sangwan stopped by to check on them. He wanted to make sure they were settling into their new accommodations. Both master and disciple were more than satisfied. For now, everything seemed to be falling into place. Li Mu Xian was just waiting for Ling Yang to figure out how to mass-produce spirit stones. These would accelerate the cultivation of cultivators, and, in turn, help him recover his own cultivation faster. Currently, he was only at the peak of the qi refining stage. It simply wasn't enough. Foundation establishment opponents weren't a problem. He could handle any number of them. but encountering a gold core cultivator could prove troublesome. Just then, the Tianyin scripture alerted Li Muxian. 2 more disciples had reached the foundation establishment stage, bringing the total to. Li Muxian was surprised. Using his divine sense, he discovered that neither was Han Jiqing nor Luo Yang. This intrigued him even more. Perhaps this was a fortunate opportunity to accelerate his recovery. Tianyin scripture. Locate these new disciples for me. Quickly, the scripture pinpointed one of them, and coincidentally, this person is in the same city as Li Mu. Mu Xian, eager to meet this talented individual, didn't hesitate for a moment. He immediately set out to find him. Meanwhile, the young foundation establishment cultivator was gleefully flying around, showing off in front of everyone. He was celebrating his recent achievement, but joy can be fleeting. While he was reveling in his victory, a masked figure launched a surprise attack. The young cultivator was instantly eliminated. If he had stayed hidden, his enemies wouldn't have found him. His excessive celebration made him a target. After eliminating his target, the assassin quickly disappeared. By the time Li Muxian arrived, it was too late. One look at the scene told him everything. This was the work of the Cultivator Elimination Organization. After all the trouble it took to get one to Foundation establishment, they just eliminated them. It's incredibly frustrating. But there's someone else in danger. He has to rush to their aid immediately. Sure enough, in another city, a young woman who just reached Foundation establishment is being targeted by assassins from the same organization. A cultivator assassin. She tries to fight back, appealing to the treaty between rogue cultivators and cultivation clans. The agreement between rogue cultivators and the cultivation families. Unfortunately, she hasn't registered, so she's considered unregistered. The assassin explains that rogue cultivators like her are now sacrifices for their master. A living soul like yours will be a perfect offering for the soul envoy. He'll be very pleased. With that, he attacks. Screw that girl. He wouldn't care even if she begged for mercy. But just when things were getting heated, Li Muxian arrived in the nick of time. He stopped the attacker from striking again. At first, the assassin thought he'd gotten lucky. Another victim had practically delivered herself to him. He was practically giddy until he pulled out his device to scan Li Muxian. Something seemed very wrong. A cultivator at the qi refining stage like Li Muxian shouldn't possess such terrifying spiritual power. Naturally, after reconsidering, the assassin concluded his spiritual power meter must be broken. Li Muxian, seeing him, was furious. Was it you who attacked that young man before? I'm so sorry. I've killed so many, I can't keep track. Who are you talking about? This one or this one? His answer was infuriating. Even Li Muxian couldn't stand it. It had been a long time since he'd lost his temper over anything. This assassin was in for it. He was about to face Li Muxian's wrath. In the next instant, Li Muxian attacked. He landed a brutal blow, drawing blood. He was too fast for the assassin to react. Realizing he was outmatched, the assassin tried to flee. Of course, Li Muxian wouldn't let him escape. He quickly caught the assassin and ended his life. And at the same time, he freed the unfortunate souls, imprisoned for his ritual sacrifices. Now with the danger gone, the Foundation establishment cultivator hastily knelt, thanking Li Muxian for saving her life. Thank you, Senior, for rescuing me. My name is Cheng Yuana. I belong to the Rogue Cultivators Alliance. Hearing her mention rogue cultivators, Li Muxian suddenly remembered the difficult circumstances of Earth's rogue cultivators. They were also a valuable source of information. He invited Cheng Yuana to his villa in Lujing City to inquire further. Initially, as she stepped through the villa gates, the rogue cultivator was utterly astonished by the sheer luxury and splendor of the place, and intensely curious about Li Muxian's true identity. Moments later, Shui Yunfan and his disciple arrived to greet them. Li Muxian asked them to prepare the guest room for an important discussion. The moment they appear, Cheng Yuana recognizes them. They're the ones from 5 Tiger Mountain. She suspects Li Muxian might be the creator of the Xian Tian Ju technique. Afterwards, Li Muxian asks her about her cultivation progress. He learns that she reached the Foundation establishment stage by watching Shui Yunfan's live streams. She learned by observing the cultivation techniques they taught. Cheng Yuana also reveals that Li Muxian learned something surprising. Not many cultivators have switched to Xian Tianju. The numbers are surprisingly low, because rogue cultivators' techniques are mostly inherited from the 5 Flowers 8 Gates. Many of these techniques are incomplete. After cultivating one, suddenly switching to another is risky. It can easily lead to chi deviation, so most cultivators avoid this. Zheng Yuan's cultivation was low. She was stuck and unable to break through, so she took a gamble. Surprisingly, in such a short time, she reached the Qi Foundation stage. Li Mashuan borrowed her old cultivation manual. The technique seemed familiar to him. He felt like he'd seen it somewhere before. He had a feeling of déjà vu. He asked Tianyin Jing to analyze it. He then discovered that this technique originated from the Xianyan continent. Is the Great Expansion 6 Methods, an Earth-grade cultivation technique, written by Zhang Ling. But the one you have is incomplete and has been altered. If you cultivate with it, you won't just be hindered, you risk chi deviation. At this point, Tianyin Jing asked its master if he wanted it to complete the technique. Hearing this, Zheng Wenao was absolutely dumbfounded. She'd never seen a magical treasure as incredible as Tianyin Jing. It was unbelievably amazing. It could not only talk like a person, but also complete cultivation techniques. However, completing the technique wasn't necessary for Li Mushuan. Wasn't needed. The rogue cultivators were still useful to him as they were. If the technique were completed, then they wouldn't need to switch cultivation methods. So I told Zheng Yuana directly that I could easily supplement her cultivation technique, but since it's only Earth grade, insignificant, there's no need to waste effort cultivating or supplementing. Hearing this, she was even more astonished. Cultivation techniques in the immortal world are divided into 4 tiers. Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow. Earth-grade techniques are considered the pinnacle, the absolute peak of achievement for most cultivators. But unexpectedly, in Li Muxian's eyes, it was utterly worthless. She then dared to ask about the level of the Profound Heaven Decree. It's a technique I created myself to combat the outer realm demons long ago. I haven't had time to properly assess its grade yet. So, for now, I simply call it an immortal technique for mortals. Zheng Yuana was completely shocked and mortified. She wished she could slap herself for asking such a stupid question. Oh, Zheng Yuana, you fool. Are you serious with that question? Over 25 years old, and still no breakthrough to the Profound Heaven Scripture. Reached the Bamboo Peak stage in under 3 months? What the hell do you call that, if not a divine technique? Without hesitation, she immediately bows to Li Muxian, accepting him as her master. This is a once-in-a-millennium opportunity. After all, missing it would be a lifetime of regret. She has to seize it, no matter the cost. As for Li Muxian, taking on another disciple isn't that big of a deal. But before he agrees, he has a request. He needs her to arrange a meeting with the leader of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Of course, Zheng Yuana can easily fulfill this request. However, things are a bit complicated at the moment. Their alliance leader isn't available. 5 elders are currently in charge. Furthermore, the Zhang family openly violated our agreement by sending people to eliminate our rogue cultivators. During such a sensitive time, a mysterious expert like Li Mushuan could easily be mistaken as someone from the 7 great clans. You need to prove that you're not one of them. Otherwise, the 5 elders won't agree to meet. After hearing Zheng Yuango's explanation, Li Mushuan remembered something that could prove his identity. He asked her to accompany him back to the abandoned cave. He intends to use Zhang Xian's corpse as proof. Zheng Yuango was stunned by the sight. She never expected him to make such a bold move. He actually eliminated the most hated enemy of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Instead of fear, she's overcome with joy at seeing her mother. And the old man's body is more than enough proof of Li Muxian's innocence. All he needs to do now is allow her to take this back and deliver it to the 5 elders. Then, all that's left is to wait for their invitation. Meanwhile, a large group of rogue cultivators are imprisoned by the Zhang family. After desperate cries for help, they're finally released. But to their horror, the Zhang family intends to sacrifice them to the Soul Master. Instead of freedom, they face a terrifying fate. A few days later, Zheng Yuna finally. I even went to the elders to explain the situation. Those old guys can be a bit stubborn, but I tried my best to stay calm and reason with them. Before the 3 elders, All said Xiao Na lacked the aptitude and would never reach the foundation establishment stage. But after cultivating the online circulated Xian Tianju, I broke through to foundation establishment. You actually reached foundation establishment? Are you here to blame me for not recognizing your potential? Xiao Na, don't be absurd. I came here on behalf of the senior who created the Xian Tianju. I have a message to deliver. They wish to speak with the elders directly. However, these old men weren't as easy to talk to as Yuna had hoped. Even after she explained everything, they refused her request, worried this was a Zhang family trap, meant to eliminate the rogue cultivator alliance. After all, they trusted their enemies before. It had led to their current, irreversible predicament. Left with no choice, Yuna staked her life to guarantee the senior she represented was absolutely not a Zhang, and certainly not an enemy of the alliance. She presented Zhang Xian's corpse as proof of her words. The sight of it shocked the elders. Even in death, they recognized that wretched old Zhang. Sensing their hesitation, Yuna declared this was the evidence of Li Mu Xian's innocence. The elders erupted in a flurry of excited whispers. Who would dare lay a hand on three of their own? The Zhang family? Weren't they afraid of retaliation? Weren't they afraid of those mad dogs? Suddenly, one elder seemed to recall something. He turned to Yuna. The senior you mentioned. Was he a handsome young man, with long hair from Lu Jing? Her answer confirmed his suspicions. He began to grasp the true nature of Li Mu Xian's identity. He'd visited Lu Jing before, seeking the Five Tiger Mountain Masters. He'd witnessed Li Mu Xian facing a terrifying lightning tribulation. It had been a truly frightening spectacle. Absolutely terrifying. Yuna's words revealed even more. They learned a shocking truth. The famous Five Tiger Mountain Masters were actually disciples of this mysterious senior. Grasping the gravity of the situation, the elders volunteered to go immediately. They would meet with Li Mu Xian at once. After all, the fate of the entire alliance was at stake. Naturally, everyone agreed. With this decision made, some time passed. The young Lang Yong completed a physics lab in his villa. To expedite his research, he recruited young Xie Guang as a lab rat for drug testing. Xiao Guang, I have a miraculous treasure. Want to try it? Get away from me. Put that thing down. It won't hurt you. After taking this pill, you might even break through to the foundation establishment stage. I don't trust you. Last time you tricked me into eating something weird, and I was stuck in a bathroom for 3 days. Master, save me. Meanwhile, Yun Yang, the elders, and her young niece arrived at Li Mu Xuan's villa in Lujing City. Even before stepping inside, the three of them felt an incredibly dense spiritual energy. A myriad of spirits enveloped the sky, a truly impressive sight. Without making them wait long, he and Fan came out to greet them. He led them on a tour of the laboratory, where spirit stones were researched and created. Before meeting Li Mu Xuan, during the tour, they even encountered a guardian spirit beast, excavating spirit stones. Though his niece believed it was simply a house pet, the elders' experience told them otherwise. They immediately recognized it as the Cheng Huang spirit beast. Just who was this young man? Facing heavenly tribulation alone, creating the Xian Tian technique, using technology to produce spirit stones, and nurturing a spirit beast. Even the Zhang family couldn't achieve such feats. Speak of the devil. Before the elders could greet Li Mu Xian, a group of young men rushed forward. Master, you're finally back. Using the foundation establishment pill formula you gave us, I've made a new discovery. I used a molecular wave adjuster. By fusing it with certain elements to boost its spiritual energy, we can mimic the effects of a pill furnace. All that's missing is a bit of ancient, Su elixir essence. They were so engrossed in their conversation that they didn't notice the arrival of their guest. Zheng Yuan'a. Only then did they introduce the elders and his granddaughter to Li Muyun. This was actually their second encounter, and Li Muyun still remembered his distinctive aura. Afterwards, he invited them to the guest room. It was a more comfortable setting for a discussion. The tour of the laboratory had clearly left a profound impression on the elders. So at the first opportunity, one of them openly shared his thoughts with Li Muyun. I've cultivated for half a lifetime, but today truly opened my eyes. I never would have imagined. To think someone's using modern technology to produce spirit stones. I've never heard of such a thing. This invention could revolutionize the cultivation world. The world is vast and full of wonders. We simply need to face them with composure. Li Muxuan's calm demeanor only deepened the elders' impression of him as a profound and enigmatic figure. Even now, they couldn't discern his true intentions. Why would you help a group of rogue cultivators like us? So, the elder dared to ask directly, Sir, why did you share the precious Xiantian cultivation technique with the entire world? I cultivate for the betterment of all. I offer them a path to follow. Isn't this normal? Do scientists in this world hoard their discoveries, keeping their breakthroughs for themselves? I was prepared for a lot before coming here, but from the start, the elders have been astonished by the miracles Li Muxuan has performed. Now, we're even more in awe of his generosity, his noble spirit. He continued, asking, Are there any drawbacks? Any disadvantages to cultivating this technique? Our loose cultivator alliance is in this predicament because we trusted the Zhang family. This cultivation method seems too good, so we're hesitant, unsure if we should try it. Li Muxuan hadn't considered this. Instead, if we're talking about the limitations of the profound heaven scripture, it's probably that cultivation is too easy, leading to an unstable mental state, thus preventing entry into the second Shuamen. The elders and Zhang Yue were speechless after hearing that, unsure if that was an advantage or a disadvantage. After all, most rogue cultivators can't even reach the foundation establishment stage. Who would care about the second Shuamen? He then asked Li Muxuan another question about the potential for reaching nascent soul with the old technique. The answer he received was cultivating with the incomplete Great Expansion 6 arts. Reaching golden core would be fortunate, but he could only stop there, because the core he formed wasn't a golden core, but an incomplete nascent core. After Li Muxuan answered all his questions, the elders were finally completely convinced. Moreover, Elder Ge volunteered to test the new cultivation technique himself, anything to help the rogue cultivator alliance escape the clutches of the Zhang family. After entrusting his granddaughter, Xiao Shar, to Yuena, Elder Ge decisively shattered his own dantian. Everyone panicked, but with Li Muxian's help, he quickly overcame the pain and entered a meditative state to cultivate. Time flew by. Half a month passed in a blink, but there was still no sign of Elder Ge. His granddaughter was incredibly worried. To make matters worse, the Zhang family's lackeys had discovered her whereabouts. They realized she was the granddaughter of the rogue cultivator alliance elder. Seeing things were about to go south, Zhang Yuanga bravely shielded Xiao Oshaya. She urged the little girl to run and find help, but as she fought one attacker, the other blocked Xiao Shatter's escape. Just then, in the nick of time, Master Shui Yunfan and his disciple arrived. Don't be afraid, little one. We're here. Fellow Taoist, this is private property, and this child is our guest. You won't bully her so easily. The assassin instantly recognized them. It's those live-streaming master and disciple. Looks like we hit the jackpot today. Old Man Shah's granddaughter, a rogue cultivator, and you too, Lord Soul Envoy, will reward us handsomely. Just then, Zhang Yuanao warned the master and disciple to be careful. Their opponent was a Qi Foundation stage cultivator. In fact, hearing Qi Foundation stage was enough to make them nervous. Master, we're facing a Qi Foundation stage cultivator. We're only at the Qi refining stage. Charging in now is like asking to be slaughtered. I tell you to train hard every day, but you waste your time on useless things. Now you realize you're outmatched, huh? But our ancestor is watching us from above. Even if we get hurt, we must fight. Do you understand? Yes, Master. I'll attack from the front, you strike from below. And so, master and disciple charged into battle. They launched a fierce assault on the assassin. Every technique they knew, even the immortal grape harvest, was unleashed. Attack from above and below. The assassin was clearly on the defensive. But even a cornered animal will eventually fight back. Finally, he couldn't take their tactics any longer. He completely lost it. Damn it all. I've never met such lecherous, shameless cultivators. I'll devour your souls and send you straight to hell. With that, he pulled out a serious weapon. He was ready to finish off He Yunfan and Xiao Guang, especially since this wasn't some low-level weapon they could easily defend against. This was the real deal. If Li Muyun didn't intervene, they'd be meeting their maker. Reincarnation was their only hope. Of course, Li Muyun would never abandon his own. Just as the assassin was about to strike, he used a magical artifact just in time to shield the two cultivators. And then, in a grand reveal, he dramatically appeared, leaving his enemies utterly shocked and speechless. Seeing their backup arrive, both Zheng Yuan'er and Shui Yinfan retreated to his side for safety. One of the assassins demanded, "Who are you? Why are you using the Zhang family's core 6 techniques?" Before Li Muxian could answer, Tian Yinjing couldn't hold back any longer and retorted, "Damn it, why do you claim everything belongs to the Zhang family? Just because it exists?" Those explosive talismans were developed by Zhongling Su. Introducing them to the Xinyan continent was like offering cheap trinkets to the 3 sects and 9 lineages. And yet, Yu Zhangs treat them like precious treasures. How laughable. It wasn't just the 2 assassins, but Xiao Guang and Yana were also completely stunned. What the hell? A talking magical treasure? Looking at these fools, Tian Yinjing couldn't even be bothered to explain. "You are mere mortals, while I simply choose not to grace you with conversation." Seeing the phantasmal illusions before them, the 2 assassins hesitated for a moment, but they quickly regained their courage and continued their spellcasting. They summoned their combat pets to fight Li Muxian's group. In response, he casually unleashed his own pet, the divine guardian beast, Cheng Huang. All their tricks were nothing compared to its power. Finally, the 2 realized the one who eliminated their 3 elders, including Zhang Xian. He panicked momentarily. Coincidentally, Tian Yinjing suddenly sensed the elders emerging from seclusion, just as Li Muxian predicted. The old man had indeed cleansed his meridians, while his appearance remained unchanged. His inner being had transformed dramatically. He was clearly much stronger and more resilient. The elders immediately requested permission to personally deal with the Zhang family assassins, to avenge the fallen rogue cultivators. Meanwhile, one of the assassins realized the elders had broken through to the peak of Foundation establishment. Yet, he remained confident in his ability to defeat them, because rogue cultivators below the Golden Core stage were hardly a match for him. Not only that, this sly fox actually hoped that Li Muxian and his spirit beast, Hu Shoshan, wouldn't interfere. He wanted a completely fair fight. It was almost laughable, but in the end, Li Muxian agreed to his ridiculous request. After all, the Zhaozuan sect elders were quite powerful this time. The moment he got the go-ahead, the old man unleashed a flurry of talismans, charging into battle. His opponents were formidable, but this tough old geezer wasn't backing down. He took them both on at once. After a fierce struggle, the elders finally obliterated them. Why isn't it working? The Palu GFA technique was passed down by our ancestor, specifically to counter rogue cultivators like you. Only when they noticed Li Muxian's presence did realization dawn on them. Those old fools fell from Gold Core to Foundation establishment. They must have cultivated the Xiantianju, spread by that master and disciple pair. That's why they weren't restricted by the 6-extremity severing method. This must be reported to the clan leader immediately. We have to take action against those rogue cultivators now. Otherwise, something terrible will happen. However, before he could act, the elders stopped him. And that wasn't all. One of them used the Heavenly Mandate artifact, the Shiliangshan formation, to send him to meet his ancestors. Finally, with the enemy dealt with, the elders and the others freed the imprisoned souls of the rogue cultivators. More importantly, among these souls were Zheng Yu's acquaintances, Na and Xiao Shar. Those bastards, why do they keep bullying us? We haven't done anything wrong. All right, everyone, safe travels. Don't worry about a thing. Meanwhile, Lang Yang was focused on the assassins' bodies. They were still useful for research. After all, he wanted to understand how spiritual energy flowed through a cultivator's body. Li Muxian agreed, but offered a word of caution. Research is fine, but don't get obsessed with the secrets of a human body. It's a path that leads to darkness. Understood, senior. I have my principles. I won't cross the line. Reassured by Lang Yang's words, Li Muxian relaxed slightly. He then turned to the elders. How do you feel after cultivating? This cultivation technique is truly miraculous. After practicing it, my spiritual core is calm. I no longer feel constrained by the limitations of this world. Spiritual energy flows through me, limitless and free. This is the most incredible experience I've ever had. However, the elders still have one question. They wonder if cultivating this technique has any connection to Li Mu Xian. When he demonstrated his technique, they sensed a resonance, a connection to your spiritual aura. Li Mu Xian openly addresses their concerns. He confirms their suspicions are correct. He reveals that this technique is the fundamental cultivation method he once practiced. Furthermore, Li Mu Xian tears open a rift in space, revealing a glimpse of his original world. Everyone is instantly stunned. The scene before them is a hellish landscape. Volcanoes erupt and oceans churn, all formed from pure spiritual energy, and then skyrocketed at an alarming rate. Li Mu Xian went on to explain that Earth's cultivation world had been declining for years. Every moment, massive amounts of spiritual energy were being generated. If it wasn't released, it would inevitably create a spiritual energy storm, obliterating the world and humanity, leaving absolutely nothing behind. Li Mu Xian had no choice but to channel this energy into his own original world. But now, his original world was reaching its limit. It was becoming difficult to control. He needed more people to cultivate the Xiantian art. The more, the better, to help share the burden of this spiritual energy, evolving into a world of its own. No wonder Mr. could withstand heavenly tribulation when we first met. I truly underestimated you. I thought Mr. Ma and Patriarch Ma were at the same level. I never imagined a true immortal like you existed. Everything finally makes sense. But the elders begin to worry. What if Li Muyun can't suppress the spiritual energy? And Ming decides to be frank. If it can't be suppressed, this world will become like my original one. Volcanoes, earthquakes, the end of all life. The elders are completely shocked. A moment later, they regain their composure. They vow to help him shoulder this burden. Due to the gravity of the situation, the elders waste no time. Upon returning to Alliance headquarters, they immediately summon all members. Everyone is ordered to report immediately, once everyone is present, to formally introduce Li Mu Xian to everyone. Fellow Taoists, esteemed elders, I've gathered you all here today to introduce this esteemed senior. The person standing beside me is the creator of the Xian Tianju, and I, Mo, have successfully recultivated it. I'm no longer suppressed by the Zhang family. However, another elder seemed to doubt the technique's viability, because after recultivation, the elders dropped from golden core to foundation establishment. Furthermore, in their eyes, Li Mu Xian was just a lowly qi refining cultivator, a mere youth. Calling him senior felt inappropriate. Everyone else found this absurd as well. Murmurs and arguments erupted, but the elders remained firm, adamantly insisting that we must break down the old to build anew. Only by letting go can we attain the cultivation needed to rebuild. For us rogue cultivators, this freedom from the Zhang family is true nirvana, a rebirth, a reclaiming of our lives. Even after all this, still, many doubt the Xian Tianju, or rather, they're afraid to gamble their lives on switching cultivation techniques. Even if the elders are willing, the others might not follow Li Mu Xuan's lead. But out of respect for their long-standing brotherhood, the other elders didn't want to pressure them. So one elder proposed an idea to have Li Mu Xuan withstand their attacks. If he could endure 10 strikes, they would all agree to his plan. This is too easy. A piece of cake, Li Muyun boasts. 10 moves? Please, even if all of you come at me at once, I wouldn't be scared. 10 moves it is. Come on, let's get this over with. Infuriated by Li Muyun's arrogance, a martial arts elder steps forward to teach him a lesson. But to everyone's shock, the elder's famed punch is easily blocked. The onlookers are stunned into silence. How is this possible? Simple wood fist against Elder Lian's purifying heaven palm. Did Elder Lian hold back? Not just the onlookers, but Elder Lian himself is surprised by Li Muyun's strength. Trying to save face, he claims, that was only 30% of my power. The next move will be impossible for you to withstand. The old man's sudden seriousness worries the elders and Yin Yang, partly because his old illness hasn't fully healed, and partly because they fear Li Mu Xian might overdo it and accidentally send him to meet his maker. Moments later, Elder Lian prepares his second attack, far stronger than the first. But no matter how impressive the display, Li Mu Xian deflects every blow. He's not just holding his own, he might even have the upper hand. After a fierce exchange, Elder Lian finally manages to create a small spiritual crack on Li Mu Xian. To the onlookers, Li Mu Xian Looks like an absolute monster, despite only having the cultivation base of chi refinement. But he effortlessly lifted the cauldron without breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, Li Mu Xian and Elder Lien, after their second exchange, had developed a mutual respect. Your fist technique is quite intriguing. Any other cultivator, withstanding that many blows, would have shattered bones by now. I've truly broadened my horizons today. To think the fist technique I was so proud of could be neutralized by someone like you. Of course, a draw wasn't enough for Elder Lien. He wasn't satisfied with the outcome. He decided to go all out for one final round. He was about to play his trump card. Li Mu Xian's cultivation level was more than sufficient against Foundation establishment cultivators. But Golden Core was still Golden Core, a two-realm difference. A direct confrontation will be troublesome. It seems Li Mu Xian will have to pay a price for winning this gamble. He summons the Tianyin mirror for guidance, asking how long he can endure. If you release the suppression, master in your current state. If you force a release, you can withstand 10 breaths at the Foundation establishment stage. 10 breaths is more than enough. Li Mu Xian no longer hesitates. He acts swiftly and decisively, breaking through to Foundation establishment. Everyone is stunned, especially Elder Lien. Before Elder Lien can react, his golden dragon is devoured by Mu Xian's azure dragon. But doesn't end there. Li Mu Xian follows up with a swift punch. Let them say he bullies the elderly. He doesn't care. Watching Elder Lien get pummeled, the rogue cultivators below nearly wet themselves. They'd likely never witness such a terrifying display in their lives. Panic and terror filled the air. Another elder rushed over to check on Elder Lien. Fortunately, Li Mu Xian had shown restraint. Elder Lien wasn't seriously injured. It seemed the test was over, but it wasn't. The elder wasn't satisfied and decided on round 2. This time, it was even more intense. He resorted to a forbidden technique, a transformation spell left by the previous sect leader. The other elders immediately intervened, but the stubborn elder pressured Li Mu Xian. This young man, if he wants everyone to change, to cultivate his Xian Tianju, he must prove himself worthy. If even the transformation talisman left by the sect leader can't break this spell, how can we convince the fellow cultivators to accept the outcome? That makes sense. Everyone present immediately supported Elder Tang's decision. However, Li Mu Xian wasn't focused on the match. Something else caught his attention. That peacock looked familiar, making him wonder if it was a descendant of the featherless chicken. The surrounding cultivators began to murmur amongst themselves. It seems Elder Tang truly disrespected the other elders. The sect leader's transformation talisman, even a soul chaser couldn't overcome it, let alone a mere chi refinement cultivator. But why is the sect leader's transformation a peacock? Judging by your question, you must be new to the alliance. The sect leader's identity is unique. Their spirit was formed by the essence of heaven and earth. Cultivating the peacock king, the ultimate technique. Its manifestation is naturally a peacock. Moreover, this is a charm left by the sect leader before losing their power. It's equivalent to a nascent soul cultivator at full strength. Even if that boy is incredibly talented, he won't be able to withstand it. The man's words seem to ring true. Even the elders try to dissuade Elder Tang. Don't be foolish and destroy the alliance's future. But it was too late for warnings. Once unleashed, it would be beyond anyone's control. The elders had to act preemptively. Li Mu Xian. The peacock, however, was formidable. It not only dodged your attack, but it even counterattacked and injured you. As expected of a talisman from the alliance leader, it seems no cultivator below the nascent soul realm is a match for this thing. Realizing the situation was getting out of hand, the elders could only warn Li Mu Xian to be careful. In reality, if a true nascent soul cultivator attacked with his current cultivation, he wouldn't stand a chance. But against a mere talisman incarnation, he could easily handle it. He just needed to wait for Tianyin Jing to set up the formation properly. Li Mu Xian then cast a spell, trapping the peacock within the formation. Everyone was astonished. However, some still doubted he could truly subdue it. Nonsense. Fellow Taoists, you underestimate the alliance leader. Maintaining this formation, it requires a massive amount of spirit stones. Once the spirit stones run out, let's see what tricks that boy has up his sleeve. But who would be that naive? Li Mu Xian has a mountain of spirit stones stored in his magical treasure. Whenever he needs them, he could just pull them out. With this many spirit stones, he could power 10 more formations. And those female rogue cultivators suddenly find him incredibly handsome. This is a true immortal, dazzlingly handsome. I wonder if this fellow Taoist enjoys beef pho, or maybe bubble tea? Perhaps we should switch to cultivating the profound heaven scripture. If we have any questions, we can ask for his guidance. The old man is speechless listening to them. They're hopelessly infatuated. But then, Li Muxian makes another unexpected move. That's for burning their entire stockpile of spirit stones just to maintain this formation, leaving the common folk practically penniless. What a waste. And under the effects of the formation, the sect leader's transformed peacock shrunk down into a featherless chick. Then Li Muxian crushed it with his bare hand. Everyone was stunned, completely speechless. That guy actually broke the sect leader's transformation spell. That's the power of money for you. Even the two esteemed elders, Lien and Tang, were left speechless after witnessing that. They were completely dumbfounded. At this point, they had no choice but to follow Li Muxian's instructions, which meant switching their cultivation to the Xian Tianju. What else could they do? Elder Tang was still hesitant. He was already advanced in age. Switching cultivation techniques and starting over would significantly shorten his lifespan. In a short time, if he couldn't reach the Golden Core realm, his life would be in danger. It wasn't just Elder Tang. The other elders shared the same concern. They'd spent 55 years reaching foundation establishment. Now, their remaining lifespan wasn't enough for another attempt. They didn't have 15 years to recultivate. Seeing the elders' discouragement, most disciples didn't dare take the risk. They were also wary of being tricked again. Finally, the elders couldn't hold back any longer. Opportunity was right before their eyes, but no one knew how to seize it. At that moment, another assassin from the Cultivator Elimination Organization had infiltrated them, causing chaos to erupt. Meanwhile, the Alliance's base was normally shielded by a powerful artifact, concealing its presence. Under normal circumstances, the enemy would never be able to find it. Because of this, everyone present turned their suspicions towards Li Muxian. They suspected him of being a spy for the Zhang family. The elders could no longer remain silent. They began questioning the other elders about the situation. However, even the elders were completely clueless about what was happening. How had the enemy managed to penetrate their defenses and reach their base? One thing he knew for certain: Li Muxian was not a traitor. He would never betray them. With the situation escalating rapidly, Elder Tang decided to act. He launched a preemptive strike. Su Canna reported that the woman wasn't alone. She brought the fox cultivator with her. And the moment they saw his power, half-step nascent soul, every rogue cultivator's heart sank. That beast, how many of our people has he slaughtered? He's even refined the evil, heavenly soul banner into a functioning magic tool. We're doomed. Doomed. Their leader has come himself. We're all going to die. Despite the desperate situation, Elder Tang, as their leader, resolved to fight to the bitter end. But he was outmatched, completely overpowered. In the next moment, he ordered his followers to slaughter the rogue cultivators, turning the area into a gruesome battlefield. Even Li Muxian has become their target. His body is starting to crack under the strain of spiritual energy. Even the Tian Yin Jing warns him about the fragile balance between him and the microcosm. It's precarious, and he's advised against using any more spiritual power